someday love will find you. Raise the chains that bind you. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Do I like kugel? Yeah, kugel's delicious. All right, we do have a first guest, so let's bring up our first guest. Today's not Saturday, it's Friday. One sec. SDS, we will bring you up in, or not SDS, we'll bring you up in just a minute. I just have to finish setting some things up. All right, let us bring up SDS. SDS, how's it going?
Morning. Radio, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing okay. SDS,
Just okay?
you? Yeah, I mean, I'm post-surgery, so I'm like, you know, there's recovery pains and stuff, but I'm doing okay. So, SDS, do you believe in a god?
Kind of.
Kind of? Well, I don't know what that means, but I can imagine that if you aren't sure if you believe in a god, then you're going to have a hard time convincing me to believe in one.
It's more just for semantics, really. Like, do I believe there's a necessary higher order being? Yeah.
Does that being necessarily have a mind?
That I'm unsure of. The mind would be contingent on the being, but the mind is going to be fundamental of reality.
Well, so, look, so I could even grant for the sake of argument that there exists a necessary entity of some kind, but then I could just say that that entity is, say, the universal wave function or something, and it just doesn't necessarily have to have a mind, and so it wouldn't really make sense to call it a god.
It's more just for the semantics of entity. That's where, like, I'm a little bit caught up on, because I don't strictly say, like, an entity has to be, like, some living being that has, like, you know, some form of, like, function or flourishment, for example.
Well, the question is does it have mental states?
Assuming, yes.
So does that follow from, how do you get, so suppose that there is such a being that is fundamental and necessary, and it is the, you know, foundation of reality, yada, yada, yada. How do you then go on to show that it has mental states?
I'd say mental states are going to be indexed to some continuity. When I say continuity, it's just going to be the identity of this being through and through is true to its form. The form is going to consist of matter. This matter is going to be of one substance, which would be consciousness.
Okay, so this view is predicated on some kind of idealism?
Yeah, so it's a monistic idealism.
Okay, so how would you convince somebody that this thing has a mind if they're not an idealist?
Well, depends. Like, I mean, a physicalist wants to say minds exist within minds, but
I don't think that's what a physicalist says. I think a physicalist says is that minds are emergent from brains.
I thought physicalism was the view that minds exist within minds, but it's the immaterial dependent on the material, so it's some form of like dualism in a way.
Well, physicalism is not dualism.
Yeah, not dualism. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. As far as capitulating an argument for like, idealistic monism, like, you know, giving some refutation to any other view, I don't really know how to elaborate on that. I'm kind of only just looking into the view, and it seems to be more intuitive than what my previous view of like non-reductive physicalism was.
I mean, that's fine. You'll just find that like I'm not particularly sympathetic to kind of like idealistic monism, if only because it seems like it requires a new kind of substance that we don't really have a handle on, and it sort of seems like magical thinking. that there is this stuff called mental stuff, and we don't know what it is. We don't really have a good way to describe it. We don't know what it means for something to be mental, to have consciousness, but it's just a thing that we say that everything has and is the foundation of everything. So like I'm just not particularly sympathetic to the view. Not to say that you can't be like a idealistic or a idealistic monist, but like it's just not particularly compelling to me.
I don't think the idealist says that all things have consciousness, though. I think an idealist would say like the consciousness is going to be like phenomenal. It's going to be fundamental.
Yeah. So like So it seems like it sort of follows that all things would have consciousness because all things are constructed from mental states.
Okay. No, I see. Okay. No, I see where you're going with that now.
And that just, like, I don't know. Like, maybe that's compelling to some people. It just doesn't do much for me.
I don't know, though, because, I mean, look, the way I would sort of cash it out, how I used to cash it out was, for an object to exist, it must have matter. For the matter to be true, there must be form. And from form, there can be these predicated properties, and these predicated properties can be of like consciousness, but I wouldn't like say, for example, like in atoms something physical would have these necessary prerequisites, but it's physical, it exists, and it's emergent like from.
Well, my contention is just, and you know, we could get into this, but maybe it's not worth it. My contention is that was at the second step. For matter to exist, there must be form. That doesn't seem like it. That seems like you're you know, presupposing some sort of Platonism, which I'm not sure I'm willing to grant.
Yeah, it would be an account of Neoplatonism in a way.
Well, look, I mean, like, I'm not here to convince you that, you know, the thing that you believe in isn't real. I'm not here to convince you that idealism isn't real. So I am going to let you go, but it is certainly...
Wait, I do have one question.
Okay, one question, go ahead.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, do you have any refutations to the time lock argument by Gödel? If you're familiar with his...
To the what argument?
Gödel, his ontological argument for God.
Yeah, I always have to refresh myself on the actual premises because I've looked at it and I find it particularly non-compelling. Let me pull up the premises because there is a, yeah, here we go.
It's premise 4 and premise 6 I have the most confliction with, specifically.
Are you talking about, so you mean axiom 4 and, like which?
Yeah, Ax 4, and then off the top of my head, what is it? It goes Ax 1, Ax 2.
Ax 1, Ax 2, Theorem 1. I'm just looking at Wikipedia. Well, I can pull this up so then we can look at it together, if that would be helpful.
If that's all right, it's like 9 different points.
Yeah, it's here.
Yeah, so for me, like, what's been most conflicting, it's Axiom 3, and then the theorem.
Yeah, Axiom 3 is a problem. Yep. Yeah, Axiom 3 is a problem. And then, is it...
I know a lot of people argue Axiom 4 is...
Yeah, that seems also...
That does not follow.
That seems also a little... I mean, like, it's an axiom, right? Like, if you don't accept at least one of these, then it just... I mean, yes, it is presuppositional. That's kind of what you do with axioms. But if you don't accept one of the axioms, then it's just not the case. Then obviously the theorem doesn't follow. Yeah, also, Axiom 5 also seems questionable. Necessary existence is a positive property. That seems questionable to me.
Well, I mean, it's question begging because, I mean, axioms are meant to be self-evidential, but if you're saying, like, the necessary existence of this positive property is self-evidential, then that's just asserting basically look at the trees, for example.
Well, look, I mean, it's axioms don't have to be self-evidential. Like, you can just accept some axioms and then derive some theorems. The point is that, at least in mathematics anyway, the point is that you just have some theorems, and those theorems depend on what the axioms are. And if you don't accept the axioms, then the theorem doesn't follow. And if you do accept the axioms, then the theorem does follow. And so, like, it doesn't have to be self-evident. It's just, you know, unless unless they are self-evident, then somebody's going to have to come up with some sort of reason why you should think that they're true. But I am going to let you go because we do have some guests in the guest box that are waiting.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, thank you for being here. Take care. Whoop. When did I become a metaphysician? I'm not a metaphysician. I'm a physicist and a physicist and a mathematician. And it turns out a lot of philosophy, especially modern philosophy, is mathematics. Okay, let us talk to, I just want to double check something. Yeah, let us talk to Webster. All right, looks like Webster's not connecting. Let's talk to U66. U66, how's it going?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. U66, do you believe in a god?
I do believe in a god.
Okay, look, I don't. Which god is it do you believe in, and how do you think that you could convince me that it's real?
So I believe, I guess, in the Abrahamic God or the Christian God.
Okay.
And for me, it just came down to, I guess, working through it logically, right? So there's three questions that I find really hard to answer, and I don't know if you're able to answer them in this live, but for me, the first is just the idea of consciousness. So it's very hard for me to link just matter and an arrangement of matter towards consciousness. And there has to be something beyond just an arrangement of atoms to lead to consciousness. And I don't know if there's been any arguments towards what you think that is. And the second thing is, if we believe there was a point in time where everything was created, I still can't get my head around the idea that there wasn't a time before something being created. And if we were to believe that something was created and something had to exist before it, then it leads me to believe there must be a God or some sort of God. So maybe we do those two before we do my third one.
Yeah,
I don't know what your thoughts are on those.
First, suppose, for example, that the physicalist worldview that, or some sort of materialist or physicalist worldview that you can't explain consciousness merely from an arrangement of physical matter is false. That doesn't get you to God. That gets you to maybe at best idealism or some sort of dualism. But that's compatible with atheism, right? You can be a dualist and be an atheist. You can be an idealist and be an atheist. In fact, that's a fairly common view amongst philosophers. So, I mean, like, maybe all of the physicalists are wrong and you're right. There is no way to get consciousness from matter, but that just doesn't seem like it gets us to the divine. As far as your second question, it sounded like on the one hand you said you have a hard time understanding or getting an intuition for how there can be no time, or how you can have a first moment of time before which there is no time. And then you said, well,
yeah.
if there is a case where everything was created and there's just no time before that, then there should be some sort of God. But it sounds like your intuition is really just leading you to the conclusion that the universe didn't have a creation point, that there was always time.
So it's the opposite. So my intuition is leading me that there must have been a point where something was created. I think the problem is when you look at, I guess, the traditional models for how the universe was created, it leads to there was a time before nothing, and then there was a time when something existed. And the part that's always blown my mind is, well, if there was a time before nothing existed, it just doesn't make any sense rationally, right? And that's
so then why do you think that there must be a time before everything existed? Why not just take the opposite view that there was never a creation point?
Because it's impossible. How can something exist out of nothingness?
If there wasn't a creation point, then there never was nothingness.
What do you mean? Explain that.
Look, so you're saying how can something come from nothing? But if you're saying that the universe had a creation point, then you're saying that exactly that something did come from nothing. The universe came from nothing.
No, so in the faith, you believe that something came from the creator, right? So you believe that there was a divine creator who created the universe.
So now you have this divine creator, and is that divine creator, did it always exist?
Yes.
Okay, so then what's the issue with thinking that the universe always existed?
Well, I don't know of any atheists or people who believe that the universe is infinite and always existed.
Oh, that's
I
like
think the general consensus
that's
in
like
the
most.
scientific community
I'm
is
pretty
that
sure
it's
that's
not.
most atheists at this point.
So you think the universe is infinite and existed from the beginning of...
I'm actually pretty agnostic about that. I have a, not to toot my own horn, I have a more sophisticated view on what time is to begin with. So I think that it's possible that there's a first moment of time, but that in some sense, I'm going to say prior, but I don't mean temporally prior. Prior to that, there was just a timeless existence. So there was nothing that was created. It didn't go from nothing to something. There was just timelessness that gave rise to timefulness. But the universe existed in this timeless state. And so that's one possibility. Another possibility is that indeed the universe just does have an eternity going backwards to the past. Both of them seem plausible, or both of them seem at least possible. I don't know how we could rule either of them out at this point.
But is your argument then? I mean, if we're saying that the universe was eternal, or then how do we coincide it with the creation of matter? So do you believe matter just came into existence?
If the universe is genuinely eternal, then the matter wouldn't have come into existence. It would have always existed in one form or another.
But doesn't that lead you very dangerously down a path of faith? Because effectively what you're saying is you just believe that stuff always existed and has always been around. I think that's leading you to a point where you're saying there's some parts of the physical world you can't explain and you just believe it existed, which is the same thing we do with the divine creator, right? You just assume that God has always existed.
Except we know that matter exists now, and we don't have any reason to think that matter would somehow not exist in the past, i.e. there's no physical mechanism that we have to describe matter going from not existing to existing. So it's actually fairly plausible to think that matter in one form or another has just like never had a true beginning. It just exists. It's just a fundamental feature of reality, and that, so it would exist throughout all of reality. That's at least possible, because at least as far as we understand like quantum fields and all of these things, quantum fields by definition exist at all moments of space-time.
Okay, so then isn't it a natural extension of that thought process then that if matter always exists, and if matter can has an infinite lifespan and doesn't really get affected by entropy and all these things, is the argument not then that similarly there can be a point in which you can believe that there might be sort of intelligent creation or divine creation of all of this?
So if the matter always existed, then it wasn't created, right?
Yes, but then, when it was put together to create the world and create the cells and arrange everything the way it is now, does that not lead you to believe that there's some sort of like intelligent design involved? I mean, or do you just think it's just dumb luck that over time it led to this?
So we don't really.
And if matter always existed, how do you explain entropy?
So we don't. So right. So yeah, there's a few things to respond to here. First, we don't really need dumb luck. Second, for example, we know that like planets and stars can form naturally. These form via essentially gravitational collapse and then nuclear fusion happening. There are like laws of physics that govern this. This is not particularly mysterious. There's still questions about like, what was the process that led to inorganic material on early Earth giving rise to life. But that's like a question of biology. The actual going from the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago, the universe being very, very hot and very, very dense and just filled with plasma, to the Earth exists with certain molecules on it. That whole process is fairly well understood. Now, could you say that, well, maybe by some sheer coincidence or luck or whatever it might be, that sometime a trillion years ago, the matter spontaneously arranged itself into a giant brain that had control over other matter, and that giant brain has been existing for the last trillion years and has been carefully guiding the arrangement of matter. I mean, like maybe, but that just seems like it's not necessary to explain the observations that we have. So why would one postulate that such a thing existed? Now, the third question you asked was about entropy. Entropy is a really hard thing to define for the entire universe. It's really hard to talk about what the entropy of the universe is, what it means for the entropy of the universe to always be increasing in a universe that is potentially infinitely large, in a universe that doesn't have a well-defined notion of energy. So there are a few issues with this notion. Apparently, there is not really a consensus amongst cosmologists that that there is really like an entropic restriction on the universe being infinite into the past. So that's not really an issue.
Okay. So look, so I think we're probably running out of time, but just my last point is, and I guess the point of this discussion was, can I convince you to believe in my God? Probably not, but I do think probably what we can walk away from this conversation to say is, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions within the universe and within the way things work. There is a branch of society that believes that their job is to just sort of like look and explain what occurs through the scientific method. And I think that is correct, but I do think that's just a tool to tell us how there was sort of intelligent design and how we were created. And I think if you look at the writings of people like Isaac Newton, and a lot of these early stage sort of scientists who also had strong faith, their view was always that science was just there to show sort of how the stuff was done, not necessarily who did it. And I guess the question is probably walking away from this conversation to say, well, you might not believe in my divine creator. I think there has to be some level of doubt in your mind to say there might be some level of intelligent design in this. And to open yourself up to that possibility.
I don't know, because like, look, think historically. In the era of Newton, right? Newton, you know, he came up with with Newton's theory, with his theory of gravity. He didn't understand, he didn't understand what it was that sustained the gravitational force between the sun and the earth, for example. He didn't understand that. This was not something that, you know, he had available to him. So he posited that God was the sustainer of the gravitational force. And, you know, if we wind the clock back even further, 2,000 years prior, we have, you know, the ancient Greeks who didn't understand why sometimes it would rain and sometimes there would be a drought and sometimes there would be lightning strikes. And so they posited that it was the gods that were responsible for this. You know, Zeus was casting thunderbolts to smite the unrighteous, and I don't know, what was the name? One of the gods is responsible for like the rain, and you know, so it seems like as time has progressed. Well, let me back up. You said that there are a lot of unanswered questions. In fact, there are not. As time has progressed, the number of unanswered questions that people appeal to God for to explain has decreased basically down to two. Namely, why is there something rather than nothing? And what is consciousness? Those are the only two things that we basically have that are basically unanswered questions that we haven't resolved yet. And this isn't to say that we will ever resolve those questions, but like, there's not really anything beyond that, right?
I disagree. I think there's a bunch of unanswered questions that we have, and I think every single field of the science is trying to answer it. So in philosophy,
so to be clear, we're talking about unanswered questions that reasonably have God as an answer. Right, like there are obviously unanswered questions, like how does this chemical reaction lead to this chemical whatever, and like that's just like chemistry, right?
I mean the questions on the questions that religion looks to answer, right? So I mean, if you look at all the main faiths, the questions we try to answer is sort of, why do I exist? Why? And it goes back to the first thing I talked about around the idea of consciousness and
that was one of the questions that I brought up. That what is consciousness, right?
Yeah. So why do I exist? Why am I conscious? Why do we exist in this infinitely large universe where we cannot find any signs of additional life? So why does it seem right now that we're alone in this infinitely large space, even though we think we're not?
So to be clear, I mean, like, it's not clear there is at least evidence of life elsewhere. It's not smoking gun evidence, but there is evidence.
Of life elsewhere.
Sure, there is. There's evidence of life. There's evidence of fossilized bacteria on Mars.
Yeah, but it's not evidence of. Wait, what? Okay, that's new to me. I didn't know there was evidence.
Yeah, this was announced in like December of last year.
Okay, but
this is like a big deal too.
Questions like, questions around why do we feel the way we feel around certain people? Why do we feel a sense of community? those are the questions that I think religion is trying to answer, and it's religion
those aren't unanswered questions. Those are questions explainable via like evolutionary psychology and sociology.
Okay, so then from an evolutionary psychology perspective, why is it when so I don't have children, but why is it when a parent looks at their child the first time they're born, they feel a certain sense of love and devotion towards them?
Because if they didn't, then their child was more likely to die.
Yeah, but then whereas a lion will eat its cub.
Because humans are a more social species. Humans are a more social species than lions are.
So why? Why are we?
Because that was a successful reproductive strategy for us. That was relevant when we were, developing our big brains. That wasn't relevant when lions were doing their evolution thing.
I disagree. I mean, lions are relatively social. They travel in packs.
They're less social than humans are. I mean, the point is that like these are questions that like if you go talk to a psychologist or if you go talk to an evolutionary biologist or an evolutionary psychologist, they will give you an answer.
Yeah, but I think it's in bad faith to say there's only two unanswered questions that religion.
Those are. I mean, like obviously there are a lot of unanswered questions, but the fundamental unanswered questions that we don't know how to answer, that are like fundamentally hard questions, not just like, oh, we just need to run this experiment and we'll know the answer. It's the question of consciousness and the question of origins of the universe. Those are like the two things that there is left for the God of the gaps to fill. Sure they are, but the point is historically speaking, there were these deep, horribly confusing questions like why are the gods punishing us, giving us a drought? Well, we now have answers to all of those questions that gods used to explain. There's only the two questions left, and maybe they're big questions, maybe they're hard questions.
But then even simple questions that I think was like, why did cells arrange themselves to create ATP? I mean, there's still questions that we don't know around how.
That's chemistry.
Yeah, but there is no. You can't just have cells decide they want to form themselves and start like breaking.
Things don't have to decide. Way, right? You just need chemical reactions to take place. That's all.
And the argument from a religious perspective is those chemical reactions is we are watching the result of intelligent design, right?
But that doesn't provide any extra. That doesn't provide any explanatory power, right? It doesn't tell us anything that we don't already know.
I disagree. I think the whole point of and I think that's where we're getting sort of deviated in this argument is the whole point of faith and the whole point of religious and the whole point of belief in intelligent design is that this universe was created with purpose and we are on this earth today for a purpose.
I mean, that's a claim, but it's not something that like certainly not going to convince.
So is a claim that the universe is infinitely old, right? You also make claims. I'm not fighting.
Well, so to be clear, I said that I was agnostic. That the universe being infinitely old is one option. I'm not like sold on it, but that is one possibility. And then I did mention another possibility, but we didn't talk about it.
Universe, can't you be agnostic on the fact that there's an intelligent designer out there?
I could, but the reason why I'm agnostic about whether or not the universe is infinitely old is because there's good theoretical reasons, like theoretical from a physics perspective, reasons for that would imply that the universe is in fact infinitely old. Like there's something called inflation, which most general cases of inflation, we have good reason to think that inflation is real, and many versions of inflation inevitably imply an infinitely old universe. There are some versions of inflation that don't do that, and then those imply the other kind of universe that I was describing, the one that has a finite past, but like kind of a timeless past before that. So there are reasons why I'm agnostic about the things that I'm agnostic about, and it's because they at least have some sort of plausibility to them that is in cahoots, if you will, with the way that I understand the world. Now, if you want to make the claim that like an intelligent designer is somehow like not only possible but plausible, so that I can be agnostic about it, you have to make that case. But it just doesn't seem like that case is being made, aside from saying, hey, there are these unanswered questions, and we can answer those questions if we just believe in this one thing.
The simplest way that I can answer, well, the simplest way I view it is, I think in every single branch of science, and I think some of the guys in the comments want to talk, so I'm going to finish it quick, but in every branch of science, as far as I've studied it, it's very good at answering sort of how stuff works up to a certain point. I don't think many of the sciences can answer how it all started, and I don't think they can really answer what happened before it started, right? So like I said, like the first heartbeat, we can analyze our heartbeat biologically and explain exactly why a heart needs to beat, but why the first heart was created, whenever it was created, in whatever biological form, it's not able to answer that yet, right?
Evolution absolutely can.
Evolution cannot.
I'm getting a huge echo, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Is it still there now?
Yeah, I think that we're good. So yeah, I mean, like, look, there is all I did was I Googled evolution of the heart because I knew that this certainly existed, and here's a paper that gives the evolution of the heart from bacteria to man.
But pre-bacteria? So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't answer the question.
Bacteria didn't have. Look, so you didn't ask about. The question that you asked was, how do we, why did the heart start to exist? Why did the first heartbeat happen? And so here's an explanation that it gets you from no hearts existing to hearts existing. This paper, at least presumably, it's going to go over that. I haven't read it, but the title is pretty instructive.
That's fine.
Now, but what you did just do is you said, but what about before that? How did the first bacteria exist? Well, that's what I can go find you a paper that goes over the details of proposed mechanisms for abiogenesis and a whole bunch of different processes there, and you're gonna be like, okay, well, where did those chemicals come from? And I'll be like, okay, well, there is stellar nucleogenesis, and it goes back, and so inevitably the one question, or one of the two questions that you have, is that where did the universe come from? And you're right, we don't have the answer to that question, but that is one of the two questions that you try to shove the God in.
Yeah, but I think the difference is for people who believe or who have faith, it's not just around, and I think that's the difference is, I think from a scientific perspective, we tend to ask questions around sort of why is the grass green, and we want to investigate it. I think the point of the faith and the point of religion is not answering only those questions, but to answer the intangible questions. Why do I feel the way I feel about something? Why do I exist? What's my purpose? Why do some people want to spend their entire lives painting on a board, and other people want to, why do we have this need to be in community? All those things, I think, is what religion is trying to answer from a non sort of
It's I understand that it feels very clinical to say, okay, well, this phenomenon, this psychological phenomenon, is the result of this thing. It's the result of this kind of neurochemistry. It's the result of this kind of evolutionary pressure. Blah 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 blah. Feels very clinical, and so saying why do we seek community? It feels like it needs a more abstract and kind of a softer answer than oh well, humans evolved as social species because it was a beneficial survival strategy. Blah 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 blah. But and so maybe you can rely on religion if you want as a to explain why your feelings are the way they are, but that doesn't mean that there aren't natural explanations for why those feelings exist, right?
I guess. Well, besides, I guess again, it'll run back to the same thing at the beginning of the season. Besides the whole idea of well, why do we have consciousness to even have those feelings?
Yeah, that's the other question, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, there are two questions that are two and obviously you can find other less important questions, but there are two remaining important questions that we don't know the answer to, that we don't have a definitive answer to. And so sure, you can, if you want, believe in God because you think that God is the right answer to those questions. But just if I were a betting man, which I'm not, it seems like you shouldn't bet on science not being able to come up with the answer to at least one of those questions at some point, because historically it's just the case that these kinds of questions that we used to answer with God are now answered with physics or biology, right?
I mean, I tend to disagree. I think some questions will forever remain in the sort of spiritual realm. Look, maybe it'll be different. Maybe one day some super AI will gain sentience, and then it'll change my view on this. But I doubt that we can answer questions around consciousness, because in the religious mind, consciousness comes from the spirit, right? And the spirit is what determines. So it's very hard to then say we're going to be able to weigh the 5 grams or whatever that.
Do you think that 2,500 years ago, that the ancient Greeks had this view that, there's no way that humans will ever be able to understand why the heavens cast down bolts of light the way they do. This is, they might have thought, smitings are within the realms of the gods. This is not for humans to understand. Do you think it's plausible that they thought that kind of way?
Yeah, and I think it's plausible that people today still feel that way, right?
Well, but my point is they were wrong about that. They were wrong about having that conception that, like, you know, humans will never understand it because this is the realm of the spiritual, this is the realm of the gods. That was just false. And historically, that kind of thinking has always been false. Every single time there is something that was thought up as being strictly in the realm of the spiritual and hence, you know, the gods must exist, everything that exists in our world, with two exceptions, of course, the two exceptions that we've talked about, every single time it's worked out to be not true. So why this time? Why are we right this time?
So along the same lines, I mean, science is also something that evolves constantly, and science is something where we're constantly seeing. So if I just step back, I'm not like a young Earth creationist who thinks that the Earth is 3,000 years old and all the other stuff, right? I think what science is an observation of our natural environment and trying to figure out why things work the way they are. I also think that 50 years ago, somebody who was a hardcore, having the same argument as you were having, and science hadn't had the ability to catch up, it wouldn't have been able to explain how a black hole exists or whether a black hole exists or not and stuff, right? So I think looking back at people back in the day had a weaker understanding also applies to science. Our scientific understanding for how things work change. We think that certain hypotheses are wrong and we change our minds on that. I don't think that is what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is I think the idea of consciousness and the idea of the spirit and the idea of the person and this incessant need we have to be who we are comes from the faith. And that's just...
you're making my point for me. There's the echo again.
Okay. Okay. I think the people I want to...
Sure, that's fair. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. And have a good one, okay? Take care.
Cheers.
I don't know why that echo just seems to randomly pop up. Do I have the blood pressure to talk to Q-Top this morning? Sorry, big stretch. Did I just big stretch myself? I did. Weird. Well, let's read some super chats and then we'll come to we'll decide. From Marky with the $10. Have you ever taken an IQ test and would you happen to know your MBTI type? Love the vids. Thanks for helping me learn. So I took an IQ test when I was a kid, I think. I imagine I did. Because I was placed in like a accelerated, gifted, whatever, a gifted and talented youth program or something as a young child. So I think that IQ tests are generally required for those things, but I never found out what the result was. And my mother, bless her, never told me what the result was, because if she did, and it was a high number, I would have been even more insufferable than I am now. So this is to say, no, I don't know my IQ. I'd rather not know. As far as the MBTI, it is astrology for nerds. However, it's the kind that you think I am. Just to make it short, I don't remember what it's. I think it's INTJ or something like that. Is the one that it's the one that you thought. It's one that you thought, right? But it is absolutely astrology for nerds. Maybe it was INTP. I don't remember. It was one of those two. From Simeon Urchin with the $5. Anyone interested in a deep dive into the origin of life? I 100% recommend Phi the Neutrophils video. He's a molecular biologist and gets deep in it. Well, that's neat. Yeah, that's super neat. I'll have to Phi the Neutrophils. Let me pull it up on YouTube just so that I can have it. Phi the Neutrophil. And there's a video on the origin of life. The nearly complete story of abiogenesis. I'll check it out. And from Ekipo with the €5. Hear your biases and fallacies and your logic explained. Say yeah and move on. Yeah, it's a pretty common strategy. Look, we all do this to some extent. From Grimmy with the $5. Isn't this thought process just describing philosophy and self-reflection that does not require a DD? Yeah, that's true too. And from Orion Cooper with the $5. My school counselor mom learned how to give IQ tests by giving them to me, and I know my results, so I agree with your mom in not telling you. Yeah, I mean, like, maybe, like, I haven't asked her, if there was an IQ test involved. I haven't asked her this. I just assume that like generally for like these gifted and talented youth programs, whatever they're called, that's what it was called, the program that I was in. I imagine that an IQ test is required, right? Otherwise, how do they decide who goes in and who doesn't? So, but who knows? I could be wrong about that. But honestly, I'd rather not know. Generally, IQ tests are not the most important thing. They change a lot based off of education and age and things like that. So I'm not too worried about it. So let us move on to our next guest. So Ryu Hayabusa has been waiting patiently. So let's bring up Ryu Hayabusa. Q-Top, you gotta wait your turn. You weren't the first in line. So I think the reason why Q-Top is in chat, by the way, is because he recently, like 2 days ago, posted a clip from a debate that we did like a year plus. No, like, where was I? This was like several years ago, I think. The clip was several years ago. And I commented, and he tagged me in it. And I commented, bro, do I just live rent-free in your head? Because I haven't thought about him in like potentially more than a year. Maybe upwards of 6 months. Like, I just don't really think about him, like, at all, because he's not really a relevant or important person. But I think that that's why he's here today, which is hilarious, by the way. Who the fuck is Q-Tip? Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. All right, let's bring up Braz. Grimlock, thank you for the $10 for the hydration reminder. All right, it looks like that Braz is not coming up. All right, it looks like it's Q-Top's turn.
Welcome.
Oh no, my finger slipped. Oops, sorry, feel free to re-request. And I'll bring you up next. Mia Morgan, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Mia, do you believe in a god?
So that's tricky. I'm agnostic.
You're agnostic. Okay, well, look, if you're agnostic, how do you think that you can convince me to be not agnostic?
I actually don't want to convince you. I actually, like, you seem, I've never watched you before, but you seem low-key intellectual as hell. So I wanted to ask you a question.
You glaze, but okay, yeah, go ahead.
Do you believe, it's going to lead to something. Do you believe that subjectives are inherently, or morals are inherently subjective or objective?
My view is generally that they're either subjective or everybody's just confused about what morality is.
Yeah. I think you're right in that. I guess this is leading to, if we wanted to claim an objective morality, do you not think that there's some logic in saying it would come from a higher power, whether that's a deity or an alien, who knows?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like, there's at least one argument that I've heard that just requires agency exists. And once you have agency, then you get morals kind of for free. And they exist objectively. It doesn't require that there is some higher deity. In fact, arguably, if you get your morals from a higher power or a higher deity, then it's not objective. It's just subject to that deity.
You know what? That's actually a really good point.
I mean, like,
I think,
in fact, this is a common argument that it's fun to use. It's fun to flip the script on, like, you know, obnoxious Christians who are like, where do you get your morals from? It's like, okay, well, where do you get your morals from? Does God just decide what's good? Because that sounds subjective. Anyway, but that's roughly my view. Mia, if there's nothing else, I'm going to let you go so I can bring up somebody who is opposition.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
You're good.
All right. Thanks for being here.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a bummer that you know, Q-Top accidentally got kicked because it shoved him back to the beginning or to the end of the line, which is so unfortunate. Let's talk to Snufkin. Snufkin, how's it going?
I'm alive. Well,
I'm glad
my
you're
God.
alive. Snufkin, do you believe in a god?
Thanks, Blitz. So, you're gonna have to ignore the fact that I sound like a child. I know that's hard to do in debate.
How old are you?
So, 1 second. I'm 14 right now.
Oh, yeah, no, you can't be here then. It's 18 plus. I was willing to grant that, like, maybe they sound like a kid, but they're actually an adult, because some adults just have that voice. But, like, no, they're actually just a kid, right? All right, let's talk to Higgins. Excuse the fact that I sound like a child. I'm just a child. Higgins, how's it going? Higgins? Higgins, you're on the live.
Hey, I'm good.
Glad to hear it. Higgins, do you believe in a God?
Yes?
Okay. Why should I believe in the God that you believe in?
Yes, I do.
Okay, there is like a 20-minute long delay, so I'm gonna have to let you go. Let's read some super chats, and then we'll bring on our next guest. Our next guest will be Jay Witty Wit. Just that way, then you know who's on deck. From Morgumi with the $2. Someone remind me to do my taxes, please. Morgumi, do your taxes. From Relax with Russell with the $5. What's up, Dr. Blitz? What's interesting is you don't even have to go to the Greeks. The Bible also states that God makes the rain and the storms. Yeah, but the thing is if you mention the Greeks, everybody agrees that the Greeks were wrong, right? But the Christians will think, well, technically God does make the rain and the storms. So like you'll get more pushback there if you use that in your argument. And from Chase Martin with the $20. Thank you so much, Chase. Always good to see you here. I've scored very high on IQ tests before and failed out of business school twice before doing physics and doing a PhD in strings. If you don't do anything, who cares about your IQ? If you do great things, who cares about your IQ? That's exactly it. Allegedly, Richard Feynman had an IQ of 125, which while high is on the low average end for physicists in general. Like that is on the low end. You can go look at studies and like you'll find that the average IQ of a physics PhD graduate is like 130 or something like this. And so Richard Feynman, despite being one of the most brilliant physicists to have lived, was 125. So 125 is like almost 2 standard deviations above normal. So that puts him like in the 80th or 90th percentile or something like this. But anyway, let's bring up Jay Witty Wit.
Hey, Dr. Blitz.
Jay Witty, how's it going?
It's going great, thank you. I do believe in God, but I don't. If you want to kick me off, that's fine. But I had a question concerning a video of yours I watched on YouTube.
That's not the. Wait, was it a debate video or was it a science video?
It was a science video.
Then now is not the time or place. There's 2 places where you can do this appropriately, and now's a good time to shill for them. One, you can just ask your question on one of the Ask a Physicist days. This is on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. The other thing that you can do is you can join my Discord server, which is pretty easy to find. You just type in discord.gg/drblitz. And you'll find it, and then you can just tag me there, or you can just ask the question in the general chat, and somebody else might answer it as well. So that's the place to do it, but here is not the time or place, unfortunately.
All right, that's cool. Thank you.
Of course. And actually, while we're here, I'm going to shill for myself again because this is part of the way that part of my income. I have a website that you should check out. Just go to blitz.phd. That's my website. It's a really great URL, really great domain name. Blitz.phd. You can check out my research. You can check out all of the work that I do in science communication and in debating. You can check out some of my personal views on some things, like about why I do this kind of stuff. There's also access to links to my Discord server, links to my YouTube accounts, which you should subscribe to, links to my TikTok account, which you should follow, link to my Instagram, which you should follow. All these things are things that you should follow. The other thing is that at the bottom of that page, somewhere at the the bottom near like the contact us or whatever stuff at the bottom, there's also like places if you want to support me. Like there's links to like Cash App and Patreon and stuff if you want to support me. Of course you don't have to, but if you want to, it's there. Anyway, let us bring up our next guest. Let's talk to Someone Neck, or Some Neck, I think is the name. Let's just call him Some. Some, how's it going? Oh, and he left. Somebody asks, why should we follow or support? Well, if you like what you see, then that's a good way to see more of it. If you don't like what you see, then don't do it. Let's talk to Joker. That's a name. Oh yeah, I should mention my debate notes too. All right, it looks like Joker's not coming up either. Yeah, so if you become a member on YouTube, which is like $4 or $5 a month, which obviously not obligated, you can actually get access to my personal debate notes, which I basically use as like a repository of links and data points and arguments and papers and things like that I use when, it's like a good reference sheet for when debating. At least it is for me. And some people like having access to that. So rather than keeping it to myself, I've made it available for people who support the channel. It's like $4 or $5 a month. Sometimes you'll get a gifted membership as well. Cheeto, how's it going?
Hey, good, and you?
I'm doing okay. Cheeto, do you believe in a God?
Yes, I believe in the God of the Bible.
Okay. Why should I believe in that God?
Okay, I'm going to give you a good example.
Mm-hmm.
Did you take the jab in COVID-19?
Did I take the jab in COVID-19? Yeah, I got the vaccine, yeah.
Okay, now, if you read John 3:18, it say, he that believe on him is not condemned, but he that believe not is condemned already. The Bible will show you what the world leaders them going to do with human.
So hold on. So the verse is, whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already because they have not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. What does that have to do with the vaccine?
Because in the Bible will show you in Revelation 9 to stay far away from that.
It says don't take a mRNA vaccine in the Bible?
You do not, no, it don't call it vaccine. You know why? Back then, nobody didn't know the name vaccine. It was showing you as a scorpion. It tell you do not take the scorpion venom.
Okay, but a vaccine isn't a scorpion venom.
But now, let me explain you. The vaccine is just like the scorpion tail. No,
it's
point
not.
of, wait, now let me break it down, and then if you don't need to believe, but at least let me break it down.
One is venom, the other is a vaccine.
Yes, but what inside the vaccine? Nobody don't know. It's venom.
You can literally go look up what's inside of it if you want. What is inside the Moderna COVID vaccine? Let's just go look at the ingredients. So the active ingredient is a nucleoside modified mRNA encoding the SARS-CoV-2 viral spike glycoprotein. Then there are lipids, which deliver the mRNA into cells. These lipids are SM102, which is a proprietary lipid fat particle. Then there's 1,2-dimistoyl rack glyco 3-methyl. It has the name of PEG 2000 DMG. Then there's cholesterol. Then there's DSPC. Then there's some buffers and stabilizers. These are trimethamine and trimethamine hydrochloride, acetic acid, sodium acetate trihydride, and sugar. Those are the ingredients. So it sounds like people do know what's in the vaccine. It's not venom.
What is MRI?
What is MRI? In MRI is magnetic resonance imaging.
Let me explain you. That is a technology to control human.
What is MRIs?
Yes.
MRIs are magnetic resonance imaging.
Yes, but they ain't gonna tell you it's a technology.
What does that have to do with? What does that have to do with the vaccine?
It's going to control you, brother, even though you don't want to listen while I'm trying to explain you.
I mean, people have been saying this for 5 years that, like, you know, if you take the vaccine, you'll be dead in 2 years. It hasn't happened, bro. I think your conspiracy theory is just wrong.
Yeah, but the Bible never say you would die.
Okay, well, nobody was being controlled either within 2 years. Like, I'm sorry, it's not happening. You were lied to.
Okay, then you will find out what I'm saying. You're going to see the ones who never take it, how they're going to react.
You mean you mean the ones who never took it, who overwhelmingly got sick and were way more likely to die from COVID?
No.
You sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Because I can show you the data.
They could tell you whatever they want. How come they never tell you who take it? What happened to them? They don't have that information. All they could tell you, everybody.
Sure, they did.
Okay. But they must have information to tell you. They got so much of people who take it, fall sick. They got so much of people who analyze. They don't tell you these things, bro.
Massive 4-year study finds no increase in deaths linked to COVID-19 mRNA vaccination.
Okay, then believe everything what they put. Don't believe in the book.
Why would I believe in the Bible when the Bible got something wrong?
Or you believe in Google on man make?
No,
Who
that
you
wasn't
think made
Google. That wasn't Google.
Whatever device you got in is a man make.
You
What
know
you type
the
is
Bible's
man-made.
man-made, right?
Of course, everything have to be man-made.
So why are you believing in something man-made, huh?
No, I believe in the Bible because
The Bible's man-made.
Wait, no, let me explain. Yes, I believe in the Bible because it's my ancestor history. They take away our name, they take away our land.
Wait, you believe in your colonizer's Bible?
It's not the colonizers' Bible. They
Well,
went
I'm sorry. Who do you think brought Christianity to? I'm going to assume that you're Caribbean, yes?
Yes, I'm a
Oh,
Caribbean. But where
Okay,
they
so
find, where they find the scroll?
are you an
Where they find the
Afro-Caribbean?
scroll?
Are you an Afro-Caribbean or an indigenous Caribbean?
Afro.
Okay, so who do you think brought Christianity to Afro-Caribbeans? Where do you think Afro-Caribbeans got Christianity, my guy?
From sense where we was living in Middle East, they just bring it back to us.
Wait a minute. So you think that
found it
Afro-Caribbeans had access to the Bible before the white man did?
Of course,
There were no, that there were no Afro-Caribbeans before the white man brought Africans to the Caribbean, right?
Let me explain you who we are. We are not Africans. We are the children of Israel.
Oh,
That's
you're a black
number
Hebrew
one.
Israelite. I get it. Okay.
are the
By the way,
Hebrew
before we change topics, here is the death rate by vaccination status. See that orange line? That is the unvaccinated people. See that green line without the second booster? That's the vaccinated people. See that blue line down here? That's the vaccinated people with the second booster. So the people who were unvaccinated were far more likely to die than the people who were unvaccinated. Just saying.
All my family would never take it. They're all good. All the people
Yes,
that
your
take it,
anecdote is
all
certainly
who
better
take
than
it by
all of
my
the data
job,
that I have access to.
All who take it by my job is sick. All.
Okay.
You see the difference now?
Yeah, so your anecdotal data is definitely better than the data collected by
No, I
hundreds
seen
of
it in my
countries.
eyes. I don't care about the data. I seen it live in front of me. What happening with my people in the job?
Yep,
All
sure.
who run and take it.
Yeah.
And still up to today, they ain't the same. One telling me, boy, every day I feel it changing in me.
It's crazy to
Every
me.
day.
It's crazy to me that you believe in your colonizer's religion. That's just that makes me really sad for you.
My history, brother. It's my history. Look, they take away my identity. How you think
You're
I
right. You're
get
right.
it?
They did, and then they forced
So
Christianity
how
on
you
you.
think? Okay, so how you think I get back my identity? The Bible.
The
Show
Bible,
us. Yes?
the white man's Bible is not
Not the
your
white man's
identity.
Bible.
It is the white
Hebrew
man's.
Israelite Bible. How? The white man find the scroll in Middle East. How could be the Bible? They
You know
put
that
it together.
people in the Middle East can be white, right?
White? No.
Yeah. Have you ever
They
seen like
light
a
up all-
you know that there are
They
like
light up-
red-headed, blue-eyed Palestinians, right?
That's not white, brother. That's red. according to Bible.
Red-headed, blue eyes. People with red hair and blue eyes aren't white. They're certainly not black.
Brother, in the Bible, don't call nobody white. All is red. Find me in the Bible, it calls somebody white. You cannot find it. These nations calling themselves white because they don't want the Bible to expose them. That's why they're calling themselves white. But in the Bible, don't call nobody white. They're calling them red nations.
So you understand that. I guess you just don't understand the history. So the Afro-Caribbeans got to the Caribbean because you had a transatlantic slave trade that brought African people, bought African slaves or stole African slaves, depending on what the scenario is, from sub-Saharan Africa, the west coast, from the west coast of sub-Saharan Africa to the Caribbean. This was in the 1500s and 1600s and 1700s and even up until the 1800s, if I remember correctly. And these were enslaved people that were working on plantations, and they were given a slave, at least in some cases, what is known as the slave Bible, which took away all of these parts of the Bible that involved things like liberation, theology, and so on. This is it's just kind of like really sad that you have I understand that your identity was stolen by the colonizers. It's just really sad that you have adopted the identity that the colonizers forced on you and claimed it as your own, rather than recognizing that your identity was stolen and going back to seek out your ancestors' identity, which is beautiful and fascinating and deep all on its own.
Okay, look, I'm gonna ask you one more thing, and I bet you don't know. Do you know why I have the war today in Middle East with Gaza and Syria? If you go to Amos 1:6, you will see what they do to us. That's why they have that war today.
This
Any
seems like
book
it's
you
in. This seems like it's not
any book,
responsive to what I
wait,
just
not
said.
any book, wait, not any book you read, you can never find that information. You don't have no idea why they have that war today.
I mean, I can tell you why that war exists.
Tell me.
I
Tell
mean
me why, and then I
that
can
war
give you
exists because
amen.
well, the war in Gaza exists because Benjamin Netanyahu and his government are like genuinely evil people. The war in Iran exists because Benjamin Netanyahu, being a genuinely evil person, convinced a genuinely stupid person, Donald Trump, that it was a good idea to go bomb Iran. So that's why those wars exist.
Okay, can you read one verse for me then, and then you will see if what you say don't make no sense. Go
Sure.
to Amos 1:6. Amos 1:6.
I'm sure that's going to explain anything about anything. So Amos 1:6, this is what the Lord says: "For 3 sins of Gaza, even for 4, I will not relent, because she took captive whole communities and sold them to Edom." Okay.
Continue to 7 till 7.
Oh, I thought that you wanted me to read 1:6.
Till 7. But,
Oh, till 7. I will send fire on the walls of Gaza, that I will consume her fortresses. Where are the fortresses on the walls of Gaza?
The whole region is the war. He talking about the whole region. He will bomb up that.
Oh, but that's not what it says.
But when they say fire, what do you think fire mean? Back then, they don't know nothing about rocket.
Okay, but they knew stuff about walls, and there are no walls. There are no fortresses either.
Okay, then believe what you want, brother. Believe
I mean,
what you want. But
I'd rather
everything is
believe what's
written down
true.
now.
I'd rather believe what's true rather than make up theology that somehow look. So, and I hate to do this to you, but not only are you believing in the religion of your colonizer, you're also appropriating the culture and traditions of a separate oppressed people group, which not only makes you sad and pathetic for believing and giving into the religion of your colonizer, it also makes you a bad person for appropriating another group's culture.
How can you make us bad person? We are the of the bottom of all nations.
It turns out Black Hebrew Israelites are not to be pitied and sympathized with. They're bad people. Because, just because... What's that sound? Just because Black people have been oppressed for hundreds, thousands of years, does not mean that they get to steal the identity of another group of people, right? Those two things are not the same thing. What is that sound? It's not Discord. There's nobody in the call. Oh, this happens sometimes. Let's bring up Snufkin. He's not even here. It's just being buggy. Snufkin, how's it going?
Yo, I'm here. Wait, don't skip me. For
Wait,
the love of
aren't
God,
you a
don't
child?
skip me. No, I'm not.
That was the child, right? Okay, so I'm gonna restart the TikTok live. It's pulling in audio from somebody else's live stream. And sometimes this is a glitch that happens on occasion. It seems to have stopped actually. So maybe we're okay. I'm not gonna restart the live yet. But if it happens again, I will restart the live. Yeah, okay, I think that we're in the clear here. All right, let's talk to Mannheim. Mannheim, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing okay. Mannheim, do you believe in a god?
No, I don't. I'm agnostic.
Okay, well, how do you expect to be able to convince me to believe in your god if you don't believe in your god?
I don't believe I can convince you to believe in a god, but I did want to bring another argument, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, if you can't, I mean, the prompt is, can you convince me to believe in your god?
Yeah, I was just wondering if I could deviate from the prompt slightly.
Unfortunately, there's 12 people in the guest box who don't want to deviate from the prompt, so I'm gonna let you go.
All right, fair.
But sorry to do that. By the way, somebody in the comments said 4 out of every 5 slave-owning Americans were Jewish. That's like a made-up statistic. In fact, there are fewer. I'm gonna restart the TikTok live stream because it's still doing the bug. Just click on, so because I'm restarting the TikTok live stream, YouTube, you'll be fine. go click on my profile somewhere over, I don't know, somewhere up here. Go click my profile and just refresh it a few times. I will be back in literally 3 seconds. And we're back. May as well read some super chats while we're here, though. I don't know why my microphone is so loud right now. That's really weird. I can turn this down probably to 200. There we go. Yep, that's about right. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to read some super chats really quick while people are drifting in, and then we will get to our next guest. From Eat Some Shorts. Eat Some Shorts sent 10 Dr. Blitz gift, or 10 Dr. Blitz Debunks gift memberships. This means that 10 lucky people now have access to the emojis and the debate notes for a month. It's only going to cost $5 to continue their subscriptions. They don't have to continue, of course. But Eat Some Shorts just sent a $50 value to me and to 10 of you guys. So very much appreciated, Eat Some Shorts. And from Miko Makopo with the 10 pounds, Second Colossians 2 says flee, chair tree philosophies is at founded on human traditions and no with Christ. Oh, this is the, is this like a, what's it called? What's the language? What's the, it's like a pidgin or like a combination language or something that's spoken, or like a Creole or something. That's going to be hard for me to read. So avoid unanswerable questions, but stick to Christ, and then we'll show why that's not very good either. I don't understand what this is saying, but thank you so much, Miko Makopo. From Chase in a $5. I can't read. From Chase with $5. Blitz types in such an aggressive and sassy way when he knows he's about to shut down an argument with a search. Yeah, that's a good point. Patois. That's what it's called. I'm sorry. It's not a pidgin. It's not a Creole. It's patois. Right. From Mr. Kiki with the $5. MRI obviously stands for Mystical Revelation Imaging. True, it does. That's actually the original name. And from Miko Makopo, not second Colossians, just Colossians. Silly me. Oh, well, fair enough. And from Glitterlock with the $5, hey, were you humming Wonder Girl's Nobody the other day when you started the stream? Dumb question, I know. Jesus would be tickled. I don't know, maybe. Who knows? John Kramer says, at the height of U.S. slavery, 78% of slave owners were Jewish. Source, please. Because I've seen that it's actually a smaller percentage than the average population. Let's find out. According to History.StackExchange, according to Wikipedia, according to the Jewish Heritage North Carolina, Jews made up about 1.25% of all the slave owners of the antebellum South. About 5,000 Jews owned one or more slaves, total. So get fucked, Nazi. Sorry. Anyway, let's bring up our next guest. Let's talk to Stacy. Yeah, it is straight from the Manosphere stuff. Stacy, how's it going? Damn it! We got. Let's talk to James Brock. James Bork, I'm sorry. James, how's it going?
Yo, what's up, man?
Not a whole lot. James, do you believe in a God? James? When you're off the app, I can't hear you.
Oh, that's my fault.
You're good. James, do you believe in a God?
I do.
Okay. James, which God is that?
It's not a God of a certain religion. I believe that all religions are trying to reach the same goal.
Okay. So, why should I believe in the God that you believe in?
Well, I think that... Can I ask you a couple questions first?
I mean, you should at least answer my question a little bit before you ask your own question.
Okay, can you repeat it?
Yeah, why should I believe in the God that you believe in?
Because of history and that all religions have the same purpose, in which it will allow the person to lower their filter of consciousness and experience external factors. So I'd like to ask you about, your belief on like consciousness and where it comes from and that sort of stuff. That's why I'm asking you.
Okay, sure,
'Cause-
go ahead.
So, like, I'm trying to think of a way. What do you think about consciousness, just on a base level? Do you think it's just like a chemical reaction in your brain, or do you think
Yeah,
it's
I think so.
subjective?
I think it's a chemical reaction. I think it's I think it's an emergent phenomenon. Yeah.
An emergent. Do you think it's from evolution?
I mean, in a sense.
Okay, so I would say that I'm not gonna prove it with facts. Obviously, you can't prove God is real to anyone, but I'd like to just say a couple things. All religions sort of follow the same thing, sort of getting a hold of your sexual desires, limiting any sort of dopamine in your brain. I know this is confusing, but
I also don't think
people-
it's true.
Okay, that's completely fine.
Like, there are
But
very
most-
horny religions.
That's right.
So then
But
it's not all
I'd
religions,
s-
right?
No. Let me clarify. All religions, or most religions that are successful and that can influence society, have had religious leaders who have done the exact same things, in which lowers and changes dopamine and serotonin levels. And psychedelics do the same thing.
I think you would find that actually dopamine and serotonin levels are very, very high, especially in revivalist churches.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
So it
wouldn't
seems like
say,
they kind of do the opposite.
Yeah, I would say it's a restructuring of dopamine levels and sort of.
Do you have any evidence to
spinning-
support this?
Well, I think a lot of evidence has come out about how dopamine sort of structures mental reality. Like, let's say
Can you
you're
give me an example?
okay. Let's say you are a child.
No, I
and
mean an
you
example
are-
of this evidence.
Okay, when you are doing a math problem and you are learning about math, like let's say 1+ or something that isn't observable.
So just to be clear, I wasn't asking for an example of like how this works. I was asking for an example of the evidence.
Okay. Yes, I do not have the evidence.
But you said that
Right
there's
on.
lots of it, right? So it should be pretty easy
Yes,
for you to
there
find.
is. I mean, I cannot go off of my phone and get it.
Sure, you can. Just minimize the app. You will stay in the call. Just minimize the app and then go find it, and we can wait for a minute or so as you go find it. It shouldn't take very long. I can't hear you when you're off the app, but we'll give you some time.
Okay.
Am I gonna get copyright struck for that? Maybe I will. Blitz, who owns BlackRock? I don't know.
I'm sure I'm pretty.
It's publicly traded, so nobody owns it. No individual owns it anyway. I'm off tune? Yeah, probably. Yeah, BlackRock exists, but BlackRock is a publicly traded company, which means that it's owned by its shareholders. That's the whole business of what a publicly traded company is. Unless your claim is that it's a publicly traded company, but there is one individual who owns 50% or more of it. Did you find the evidence?
Yes, I did. I'm trying to figure out how to minimize the app.
Yeah, I mean, like, so you can just tell me what the title of the paper is, for example, and I can find it for you.
Okay. I'm
So
just gonna paste it into chat, the first one.
Okay.
Oh, and it's not working.
Just tell me what the name of the paper is.
A neural substrate of addiction and reward.
Okay. Cited by 12,000 people. This must be a good paper. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
it's like the forefront paper.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what
So
wanted
I mean,
to do.
it's almost 30 years old, but sure. So let me pull it up just so that everybody can see what we're looking at. The capacity to predict future events permits a creature to detect, model, and manipulate the causal structure of its interactions with its environment. Behavioral experiments suggest that learning is driven by changes in the expectations about future salient events, such as rewards and punishments. Physiological work has recently complemented these studies by identifying dopaminergic neurons in the primate whose fluctuating output apparently signals changes or errors in the predictions of future salient and rewarding events. Taken together, these findings can be understood through quantitative theories of adaptive optimizing control. So this seems totally normal and not particularly surprising that dopamine is one of the primary reward signals that are used to stimulate learning. So how is this saying anything about how dopamine shapes your reality?
Well, what it says is that your brain makes expectations of what it's going to see.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the dopamine, if your expectation is right, the dopamine will reward that part of your brain. And the way dopamine works, to my knowledge, in your brain is if you get reinforced dopamine levels and serotonin levels in the certain portions of that brain, that reality is going to become like super, I guess, even more real to you is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, that's not what it says.
What do you mean?
That's not what the paper that you just suggested says. It seems like that, so you have these dopaminergic neurons. These are neurons that exchange dopamine, whose fluctuating output apparently signals changes or errors in the predictions of future salient and rewarding events. So all that's happening here is that the fluctuations are somehow, the fluctuations in this in these neurons, the fluctuations in their outputs is somehow linked to whether or not predictions of the future or errors in the predictions of the future, changes in the prediction of the future or errors in the prediction of the future are happening. But it doesn't say anything about them being more real.
Well, I would say that's subjective.
What's
when
subjective?
I say real, I would say your experience is subjective.
Of course it is, kind of by definition.
And it's subjective due to the dopamine in your brain.
I don't
Obviously,
know,
there's a lot of
what
chemicals.
I don't know what it means to say that it's subjective because of the dopamine or due to the dopamine. That seems like a strange statement. It's subjective because it's your own personal experience. I don't think that you can link that to your dopamine.
So you don't think that dopamine has any sort of role in what you think is real and what's not real?
I have no idea if dopamine has any role in that. No. I mean,
You have no idea.
dopamine is a primary neurochemical, so I'm sure that it plays a role insofar as dopamine, serotonin, and what are the primary neurochemicals? Primary neurochemicals. neurotransmitters, I'm sorry. So the primary, I should say neurotransmitters, because there's like a few that are like the main ones, right? So there's glutamate, there's GABA, there's dopamine, there's serotonin, there's norepinephrine, and acetylcholine. So those are like the main neurotransmitters. So like anything that really happens in your brain is probably going to involve these guys. But like, it's not to say that like having more dopamine or affecting your dopamine is going to like, you know, control the reality that you experience. That seems super far-fetched from anything that has anything to do with like scientific reality.
I would disagree, and obviously I would recommend you researching about people trying to restructure the way dopamine in their brain works and what the effects of that is, whether that be through I forgot what it's called. I know Andrew Huberman does it, the near sleep, or sort of while you're aware and asleep without any senses. So you're not getting any rewarding dopamine from anything but your own mental state. There's also like low humming throughout all religions.
Why is it that like the scientists that, I don't mean to generalize, but people like also always happen to be podcasters?
Oh, I'm 19 and in high school.
I'm not, like, that's fine, but like, why is it that the one scientist you cited is a podcaster?
Well, probably because I'm a 19-year-old and not a trained physicist. So
but I mean, like, you could have read stuff. Like, he's not like at the forefront of, you know, neurobiology. Like, that's not.
Oh, I know
So
that.
So I don't know.
But I was just saying that he talks about it a lot and cites it a lot, and a lot of people pay attention to him when they're thinking about dopamine. I wasn't saying he's the ultimate source, but I'm saying he talks about it.
I mean, I'm sure that he does talk about it. My point is that like, it's a little bit suspect when like these big claims about, you know, dopamine reshapes our reality and all of this stuff. Like, if these were true, you would expect to see like published papers that make these claims rather than like a podcaster talking about them.
Well, I just don't think it's studied yet.
So then why do you think it's true?
What do you mean?
If it's not studied, why do you think it's true?
I think just because of the vast amount of correlating evidence without causate, or like all the evidence sort of correlates together, and it's not like specific evidence that will tell you that it's true. It's just that all of it happening at the same time is statistically almost impossible.
Which evidence? Like, what's the stuff that is statistically impossible?
I mean, I would say that the odds of all the religious leaders trying to like fast, trying to get rid of, or not all, but I'm saying like Buddha, Jesus, those telling the people what to do, we're trying to get them to that point. And
get them
all
to
the
what point? What, I don't. You're not being specific.
To restructure the dopamine in their brain.
But that's the claim that I don't think that you have good reason to believe. Why do you think that that's what's happening, and why do you think that that's a thing that happen? Why do you think that that's a thing that happens at all? And why do you think that that's what they were trying to do?
Because of the evidence of the different methods of restructuring dopamine and how they have universal anecdotes.
So two things. One, I've yet to see what this evidence is. Two, I don't even think that it's in principle possible for there to be such evidence, because it doesn't mean anything to say restructuring dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical, it's a neurotransmitter. It's not a brain structure.
You're right. I should have clarified, like restructuring your neuroplasticity in neurons through changes in dopamine.
So what's the evidence that this is a thing that happens, and what's the evidence that this is a thing that the religious leaders are trying to do this?
Do you want me to pull up another source?
Well, the first source that you gave me didn't agree with the claim that you were making.
Well, it wasn't supposed to agree. It's just making a basis that dopamine does have an effect.
I mean, dopamine is a primary neurotransmitter, so of course it's going to have an effect on a lot of things. But the claim that you're making is that like somehow religious leaders are either intentionally or unintentionally trying, like all collectively trying to restructure the like the neurons in the brain using dopamine, and that's like a big coincidence that we don't have reason to believe other. Like these are some huge claims, and you should probably back them up with like a, you know, some piece of evidence.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, and I appreciate you telling me that. I'm obviously not trying to, you know, change your opinion. I just want to get a physicist.
So you should talk to a neurochemist or a neurobiologist rather than a physicist, because again, I'm not a physicist, or I am a physicist. I'm not a neurobiologist. So like, you know, go talk to them.
Yeah, I wish I could.
You can.
There's not many of them.
Well, I mean, there's not many of anything.
Yeah, not many who will listen to a 19-year-old.
So here's what I would suggest. If this is something that's really interesting to you, go to school for it. Go to college for it. Study it. You'll have access to the professors. You'll have access to the professors that will be interested in talking about this stuff. So yeah, definitely do that. Otherwise, though, I am going to let you go because there are a whole bunch of people in the guest box. But thank you for being here, bud.
All right, bye.
Take care. Well, he was nice. He has a lot to learn, but look, don't shit on him too hard, okay? He is just 19. He has a lot to learn. Hopefully, he goes to school for these things and then learns. That's you know, we all have ideas when we're young, right? From Orion with the $2, just $2 for the best banjo troll. Always, LOL. Yeah, look, I can't even get mad about it, right? And guys, don't be a dick about him being in high school at 19. Some people start school late when they're like, some people don't go to kindergarten until they're like 6 instead of 5, and then they graduate a little bit later than other people. Don't be a dick, okay? From Morgumi with the $5, I just saw a meme of the flat earth, but there were mountain goats on the edge. That's funny. Like that is funny. From Tim Davidson with the $2, does he mean dopamine or meanie dopes? No, I think he meant dopamine. From Joshua Everett with the $5, Separate Ways is my go-to hum-along song. It was, look, so there was one of the best memes that I found on TikTok lately is Kerbal Space Program videos that, hold on, let me just pull one up, because they're so funny. They are like, I mean, they are funny specifically for me. I don't know if they're funny for anyone else, but they are the funniest. I literally watched this earlier, and this isn't that song, but that song often shows up. And then the rockets just explode. It's so funny. And there was another video that I was watching earlier that had the song I was humming in the background, and so that's why. Anyway. From Tim Davidson with the $5, there's nothing worse than getting us Cranberry songs stuck in your head in zombie. No, don't do it. From James with the $2, I've tried to join the Discord. I love your work. Well, so you have to punch it into a browser. You can't just click on a link. The link doesn't often work. From Miko Makopo with the £10, tried to say theists try to prove God by things they don't comprehend. Bible urges stick with talking about Christ. If we can get them to do that, we can show them why this isn't a good move either. Ah, yeah, okay, that's what you mean. Yeah, sure. that makes sense. From Grimmy with the $5, I really wish your guests would look into electrochemistry in the brain before trying the subjects that involve chemicals in the brain. Yeah, that's probably important, but he was young, so it makes sense that he hasn't looked into all this stuff. From Game Master Flash with the $5, I remember that in the Bible, Bro 20 verse 9, yea, verily I say unto you that you should totally reconfigure your dopamine for better vibes. Indeed you should. And we just got a cash app from Rob, name that I'm not going to read the end of. Let me make sure that I read the message so then I don't show. For great show. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. All right, let us move on to our next guest, who is in the guest box. Let's talk to A Voice in the Wilderness. What a name. A Voice in the Wilderness, how's it going?
Good, how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Voice, do you believe in a God?
100%.
And which God would that be? I just don't want to make any bad assumptions about you.
Well, let's first figure out like if God is true or not, and then.
So would I be correct in assuming that you're a Muslim?
No.
No, you're not a Muslim.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so you would be comfortable saying Muhammad is a false prophet?
100%.
Okay, can you say it for me?
He is a false prophet. Anyways, that's
Okay,
not the
sure.
subject.
That's fine. That's fine. Go ahead. So let's prove a God
I'm
exists. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna put it as a 7-year, maybe 9-year-old guy. Not too much to think about it. When you see a car in front of you, what do you think of it? You think somebody created that?
When I see a car in front of me? I mean, yeah, I tend to know what cars are.
No, I understand, but if you see a car, you will think that somebody created that, right? They can't be that.
Well, it's because I know what cars are, so I would think that a car is created because I know that cars are things that are created. Like I know what a car is.
Okay, so good. So now you see, we live on Earth, right?
We do live on Earth, yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Like the Earth was created by itself like that, and everything like sets perfect just like that, without a creator, without an intelligent being?
I mean, my view is that the Earth formed via a natural process called accretion and gravitational collapse. So. Yeah, I mean, we know how the Earth formed, and it formed in a pretty straightforward way.
Who said that?
What do you mean, who said that? This is the scientific consensus.
Yeah, but okay, well, that's not like that's basic logic, my friend, and you're not accepting that because you just read a scientific book.
Sorry, what's basic logic?
Basic logic is which one is more scientific, the Earth or the car? Which one needs more?
I don't know what you mean by which one is more scientific.
Okay, which one is more? Which one requires a better engineer, the Earth or the car?
Apparently the car, because the Earth doesn't require an engineer to form.
Okay, well, when I say engineer, it's not literal. I'm just saying, like, who would be a smarter being to form the Earth or the one that formed the car?
Apparently the car, because it doesn't require a being to form the Earth.
Okay. Well, you know what? I guess you don't want to believe what I said to you. Like, I don't have to go even further after. You have all the evidence. Everything is in perfection. The tree grows. The food is always coming out.
Everything is everything is perfect? Are you sure?
Yeah, nature is in perfection, of course.
Wait, are you saying nature is perfect, or are you saying it's imperfect?
Perfect.
Okay. So, like, you would say that, you know, when I had an abscess the size of an abscess the size of a tennis ball growing in me, unknown for years, that was perfect?
That's because of your science. Too much garbage.
It was science that caused that?
Yeah, because
science is what caused an abscess? Do you know what an abscess is?
Chemicals.
Do you know what an abscess is? It's an infection. It's an encapsulated infection.
Okay, but let me tell you something. The people that get sickness now.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
I don't know. That wasn't me.
Oh, I thought it was. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can't believe the simple and most like basic thing. I don't know how can you believe in God. That's why you probably can't believe in God. Like
because I understand science, or is that why?
Yeah, we know science, my friend. 0 plus 0, what is that equals?
That equals 0.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you. Have a good one.
You wanted to say 0 plus 0? Okay. Have a good one.
0 plus 0 equals 0. So that means it's got to be somebody to create something. Out of 0 comes out 0.
That seems like it's unrelated to the statement that you made about there must be something to create something. That's a crazy claim.
Obviously. All right. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
All right. Take care. He didn't really have much to say, did he? That's okay. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Love that one. Let's talk to Sandrew. It's like Andrew, but Sandy. Sandrew, how's it going?
Hello. I just want to say 2 things before.
Oh, this is a young child, isn't it? All right, let's bring up a guest from the Discord. Let's bring up Burgeret. Burgeret, how's it going? Burgeret, you are on. Burgeret. Burgeret. Okay. Talk to Dr. Deep. Dr. Deep, you're on the call. Dr. Deep.
Hello? Hello?
Dr. Deep, how's it going?
Hi, I'm Dr. Deep. Can you hear me?
Indeed you are, and I can hear you, yes. So, Dr. Deep, do you believe in a
Oh,
God?
excellent. Hello, who am I talking to? Sorry, is this Dr. D?
Yeah, you're Dr. Deep, and I'm Blitz. You're talking to me.
Hi.
You're on the show.
So, because I'm looking at your YouTube, should I just
Yeah,
talk on this?
Yeah, you should stop listening to the YouTube. You should just talk to me here, because the YouTube is on a delay.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
You're good.
Sorry. Nice to meet you. I've been following you
Likewise.
for a long time. So
Well,
I'm
here
a
you are.
quantum biophysicist.
You're a quantum biophysicist. Cool.
Yeah. So
You can just say
so I
biophysicist.
developed
We all
some
know that it's quantum.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, but the thing is, I'm into quantum physics as well, but I'm not a quantum physicist, but I've had to learn in order to overcome some of my research that I was doing in biophysics and biodynamics. So my area is thermodynamics and fluid mechanics.
Oh, okay, sure.
So I just want to go right to the beginning, right? So do you think do you believe in a literal figurative God, or sorry, do you deny a figurative God, or do you deny the Baruch Spinoza God as well, the God that Einstein acknowledged as well?
I take it that the Spinoza's God is whether or not Spinoza's God exists is more of a semantic dispute. It's
okay,
meaning that it seems like
what do you
can.
so basically, because people have made up so many gods throughout the time, you know.
Yep.
5,000 years, they worship the sun, idols, blah blah, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
But where I come from, so I was trained in theology, but obviously I've read into so many different religions, including Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, so Torah, and all. So I see a kind of similarity in between how the Torah has been manipulated in certain ways to basically justify a certain view.
Look, so all I was getting at is that, like, it seems like you can be an atheist and agree with the Spinozan on all matters of substance and still be an atheist. It's just a question of the way that you're defining what God is. So that's like a semantic dispute. So, like, if you want to say that, like, Spinoza's God exists, then we just disagree on what the word God means, but you essentially mean that the universe exists and that there's beauty in the way the universe is. And like, I can agree with you on that without accepting that a God exists, right? So
right. Okay, and then we can go to like dexterity. So something like the image of God. So man made in the image of God. So if you go back to basically physical dexterity, so the face, the hands, and the feet, the way we use it is quite unique in this world.
The face, organism. The hand, and the feet. I don't think that's true. Like, chimpanzees use their hands in ways that are similar to the way we do.
Not really. So the way we control our fingers, it's known that we are very well versatile compared to any monkey out there.
Well,
so
sure, we are more dexterous than most, and that's why we're such good tool users. But, like, for example, crows are far more dexterous with their mouths than we are. Right.
Yes, but language. So basically, I've put out a law. I've coined something saying there are 4 universal laws, right? Math, body language, music, and food. So all those are replicated from a human bioorganism.
Why are those laws? What laws are those?
So basically, they're not laws per se. They're statements that have turned out to be true. So universal language.
But those aren't even statements. They're just like objects, right? They're just like concepts. I don't know what you mean by they turn out to be true.
So what do you think about it? do you believe in those do you believe that, do you think that those 4 laws, I'm sorry, I'm saying laws again, those 4 concepts like body language, food, music, and math, for us to contemplate math is abstract, you know, like we
Yeah, math is abstract. Yep.
two coconuts, you know, and what I've turned out to notice is the law of structure has to predate everything. Anything that has structure,
I don't know what that means. What's law of structure?
Okay, so law of structure. So law of structure persists. So 120 trillion cells in the body has to overact or counteract entropy in order to work in a symbiotic sense in a human body. And each cell, a cell is like a factory that prints another factory, and that latest factory is the one that's the new generation, and the old factory dies off.
What does this have to do with God existing?
For that to happen, the symbiosis, the fine tuning in the body, it has to be instrumentated. So so let's say everything is made twice, once in the mind, once in reality. Let's say I'm making a guitar.
It seems like evolution can explain why the body is the way it is without requiring some sort of
so that's me. For evolution to happen, there has to be a substance. So evolution is a survival of the fittest. But for evolution to
it just relies on there existing at least 2 things in competition with each other. Sure.
So at least there has to be substance. So basically, you can't have a probiotic soup that spontaneously erupts to be a prokaryote or eukaryote cell. It doesn't happen. We've been trying it for decades. I've been trying it for decades.
Are you an origins of life researcher now? I thought you were a quantum biophysicist.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm into abiogenesis. So I'm into origin of life research because I've had one of my PhDs.
So like what are you actually, right? Like what is your research?
So I'm a polymath. So I've been trained in mechanical engineering. So that was my formative years, early years. Then I jumped into biomechanics, and now I'm into like origin of life research. And going throughout that whole.
So I mean to ask, like, what do you do as your occupation?
So I'm a polymath. That's what I research on. And my
that's not what I'm asking.
Is
what's your occupation?
Bioprinting, 3D bioprinting. So I make printers that can print osteochondral grafts. So the thing under the kneecap. So from the cartilage to the bone marrow and the blood.
Sure.
So that's a 7-layer complex. That's what I do.
So are you published in any of these fields, like physics, so like any field of physics or any field of biology or any field of like inorganic chemistry? Are you published in any of these fields?
So what happened was I've written all the papers and I've given it for peer review with some universities like Brunel and stuff like that. But I've had to patent some of my stuff, some of my findings, and once
you don't patent research, right?
So
you patent inventions.
You can't patent the discoveries. You can patent the application of it.
Yeah, but like you don't submit papers to universities. You submit them to journals.
So I haven't given them yet because my lawyers have given me a slight pause until next year. But I've got so much of research to put out, so I'm just gonna run through some of those areas.
It just sounds like you're doing like the physicist or the biophysicist equivalent of stolen valor. Like you came on and you said that you're a quantum biophysicist, but like you're a mechanical engineer who has like a hobby of like thinking about things.
So basically, I'm currently studying as a bioscientist. So I'm doing my research currently.
You're studying like at a university. You're getting like a second degree.
Yes, I'm doing my postgrad right now.
Okay, postgrad in what?
In 3D bioprinting. So
so then this has nothing to do with like abiogenesis or biology or physics.
Yeah, exactly. So I dabble in abiogenesis, but my research is not in that area. But obviously, I've had to think about those areas in order to complete my in order to continue with my journey in 6D printing or 3D printing.
Look, and that's fine, and that's a valuable field. But it just seems like you came on and you said that you came on and you presented yourself as like a scientist in this particular field, but I mean you're not, right?
Yes. You can say that I'm not. That I'm studying scientists in the field. So
but you're not even doing that. You're doing a postdoc on biomechanical engineering, right?
So medical engineering, biomechanical engineering, and biomedical engineering, medical engineering, and biomechanical engineering. So it's
right. But that doesn't have anything. That doesn't have anything to do with like you know, abiogenesis or, you know, quantum biophysics.
Yes, of course not. Of course not. I mean, whilst I was doing those studies, I've been dabbling because I needed a way. I needed a way to cure these graphs that I was making more faster, and then I had to dabble in the actual quantum physics of atoms and, you know, particles, because everything is quantum. Everything's made up of particles, and I wanted to learn more about it. And then I got into the math, and, you know,
and that's fine.
Of,
I'm 100% on board. Like, I think that more people should be interested in these things, and more people should look these things up in their free time. I'm totally on board with that.
And then
but it just feels weird that you came in and said that this is a thing that, like, this is your occupation. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. This is all to say, like, it seems like I don't know how we get to God from any of this.
So let me just progress on a little bit more. So what I've kind of sort of researched, and the stance I've got to, I don't know whether you agree with it or not. I figured out that law does not emerge from particles. Particles obey laws, and those laws.
I mean, that's not correct. That's like a philosophical position that you can try to argue for, but that's not, like, based in any science that we have.
So
that's like an ontological view of the laws of physics, which is it's a view that you can hold, but it's not like some scientific claim.
Yeah. So that structure and law has to pre-exist matter.
Yeah, that's a non-scientific claim. That's like a philosophical claim.
Like the fine-tuning trap.
The fine-tuning is actually a scientific. Fine-tuning is actually a scientific claim.
Okay, so if you go to fine-tuning, so I mean, constants have been chosen or spontaneously erupted from nowhere, from nothing.
I don't think that those are the only two options.
Okay.
There's at minimum four options, right?
So what about symmetry and asymmetry? So moral asymmetry.
What about, I don't know what moral asymmetry is.
Okay, let me just quickly, because I've written a small document, because obviously I wanted to speak with you for a long time ago, so I've made up a bunch of questions.
Like, can you tell me what moral asymmetry is?
So let's say there was this. So I follow. Do you know about Phil Collins, James Tour, John Lennox? Do you know about the? I mean, I'm sure you know about these people,
Isn't Phil
right?
Collins a drummer?
Sorry, not Phil Collins. Sorry, I'm talking about the genome.
Yeah, that guy, right? The guy who did the Phil in the Tarzan movie.
No, the genome director. So the person who mapped out the genomes. What's his name? Francis Collins. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Francis Collins. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that, mate. Yeah. Okay, because I'm a drummer as well. So yeah. So
what about these people?
So moral asymmetry. So people don't know exactly. So do you agree that we don't know? We don't still have an explanation on how you interpret my words as meaningful text in your brain, and actually analyze and contemplate those things. We don't know how writing letters, those strokes in the paper, actually interprets us language. You know. So those.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I don't know, but I'm also not a neurobiologist. I'm not a neuropsychologist. I don't know. But to say that nobody knows, I don't know if that's true.
That's true. No, I mean, if nobody knew, I mean, so if nobody knew, it wouldn't be possible, isn't it? I mean, everything's
well, no. I mean, you said that nobody knows. You said that nobody knows, and then you said some stuff, and then I said, well, I don't know that, but I don't know if nobody knows that.
If nobody knew it, it wouldn't be possible for us to. Well. So for us to be using it, we're a user, isn't it? So we're a consumer of nature, technology, and so on and so forth. So we use atoms, we manipulate entropy, you know. But obviously, it had to be there.
What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean. It had to be there. I have no idea what that means.
Are you an experimental physicist?
No, I'm not. I'm a theorist. I'm a theorist's theorist.
All right. So when you go and so you go. I'm assuming you go to university in the morning or something.
No, I'm done with school.
Ah, right. So let's say
I have my PhD, right?
Right. So you're not in academics anymore.
In some sense, I am. I'm still publishing. I'm still collaborating, but I make my money doing this, so that I get a little bit more academic freedom.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I get paid. I make like way more money than I would make being an academic. Academics don't get paid anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Like this online thing.
Yeah, I mean, I do science communication, and that pays decently.
That sounds interesting, man. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I wanted to dabble in it as well. So, anyways,
it's fun to do.
Let's say tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say just hypothetically, yeah. It was one. I mean, I wouldn't call myself smart, but obviously I dabble in certain areas. So one person to another, like intellectual person to another. So tomorrow morning, you're gonna wake up and start doing your anything that you left off last night, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you believe like faith that you'll wake up and do it tomorrow? That thing you left off.
Do I have faith?
Blind.
I don't understand what that means.
You have to have. Otherwise, so if you don't have faith that you'll wake up tomorrow and start off where you left off or start something new, if you don't have faith, you would never go to sleep.
If I don't have faith, do you mean? Wait, are you asking? Do you believe that I will wake up tomorrow? That I won't like die in my sleep?
Exactly. So
yeah, I mean, sure, I absolutely believe that because I have
exactly.
justification
So
for that belief. Belief and faith are not the same thing.
It's true. It's true. That's true. I mean, there's justification. So belief and faith are intertwined in our lives, anyways.
Belief and faith are not the same thing.
When it comes to God,
so to say that I have faith is not correct.
You'd have to have faith that you'd breathe throughout the night. Otherwise, you would stop breathing.
No, it's not faith.
I mean, it happens.
That's a belief.
It's autonomic.
Faith is a kind of belief, but not all beliefs are kinds of faiths. Not all beliefs are faiths, rather.
Agree.
So no, I don't have faith in that. I have a belief that that's the case, but that's because I have justification and evidence for that belief.
How intertwined do you think belief and faith are?
Faith is a kind of belief. Not all beliefs are faiths.
Okay. I mean, okay. So let's just move on from that. I'm sorry, I'm taking so much of your time. Let me just quickly.
But look, I would like to see like the reason, like what kind of God is it that you believe in? Do you believe in Spinoza's God, in which case we just have a semantic dispute, or do you believe in like some sort of divine creator?
I see. So as I'm doing my biophysics stuff and biomechanical engineering, I see some sort of a signature in how orderly things. Because I am a fabric, so I've had factories and manufacturing plants. And when I look into the each cell or how a cell works, they all look the same in the microsense, in the nanoscale. But when you zoom out, one's an eye, one's a liver, one's a kneecap, one's everything. You know, they're all the same. You know. And
yeah,
then
the cells are copies of one another. I agree.
One another, but they metamorph into different aspects.
Yep, they differentiate. I agree. Why does that not make sense?
It should make sense because they all look the same in the nanosense. So imagine
right. But
you have
so initially you have stem cells.
So let's say you have cakes. Let's say you have 100 trillion cakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
When you look into it in the nanoscale.
Yeah.
But as soon as you zoom out in the cosmological scale, one's an eye. I mean, you can see contrast.
Well, look, the reason why cells differentiate. So to be clear, a blood cell is not the same as a neuron. They don't look the same even at the microscopic scale.
No.
Right.
I'm talking about cells that divide in terms of not standalone cells. Blood cell does not have glial cells, mitochondria.
These are different kinds. These are different kinds of cells.
I'm talking about animal cells, like a eukaryote cells. You know, cells that divide.
Eukaryote. Yeah. So not all eukaryote cells look the same. Like, of course they don't.
Well, no. In terms of the manufacturing mechanism inside, they're all the same.
Well, that's because they all descend from a common cell, right?
Yeah, but so okay.
The prokaryote eukaryote transition happened exactly once, and all eukaryotes are descended from the eukaryote that you know absorbed the developed the nucleus and all that stuff. Like that happened exactly once. So every single cell descends. They're all the same because they all descend from the same cell.
Okay, so let's say some laws of physics made them happen like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you should probably zoom out a little bit. And you might call them like biological phenomena that happened.
Okay, so are those laws of physics? So what I believe, obviously, apart from a creator or whatever, that there are three things in this world: physics, maths, and chemistry, and everything is made up from that. Even biology. Biology is one of the major forms.
I mean, you
of
could say that
symbiosis.
chemistry is just physics, but you know, chemists will be mad at me if I say that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
but look,
obviously
physics. These are descriptive. These are not prescriptive. By the way, you still haven't told me what kind of God it is you believe in.
I didn't understand it.
So
I don't understand
physics is descriptive, not prescriptive, meaning that physics describes what's real. It doesn't prescribe what's real. It doesn't determine what's real.
Exactly. So it's discovery of what's real, isn't it?
It's a description. It's merely a description of the real world. Now, look. Here's what I would say. It sounds like you still haven't told me what God it is you believe in. So if you could do that, that'd be great.
So I do believe in. So I mean, yeah. I mean, to be very frank, I do believe in the Baruch Spinoza's God.
Well, then we don't even really have like a meaningful distinction.
And also a creation God.
Well, you can't believe in both because they're in conflict with one another.
I know, but I'm more leaning on to the creation God, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so
because obviously I was an inventor, and so as an inventor and a creator, I can't imagine something like let's say a car. Somebody brought up a car in your debate one time.
Yep.
So it's got 35,000 parts. Obviously, I've put as an apprentice of mechanics and being a mechanic, I've put up a car together internally, like, you know, and the notion that all those parts machined and fit into one piece spontaneously, it seems so out there for me. I don't know why. I want to get a better explanation from you. That's why I'm talking to you. You know.
But the universe isn't like a car.
If laws, yeah, I mean it's way more complex. If laws are real,
arguably not. And
if laws are real,
I don't think that laws are real. I don't think that laws are real.
Well, I mean, we know Boltzmann constants, and we know thermodynamic laws. We know the three laws of entropy.
So laws are descriptions. They're not things that exist out there in the world.
But yeah, it's description of the cosmological world that we live in.
Yeah, the descriptions of the world. They're not things.
Fine print.
Okay, so do you agree that chess sets exist?
Chess sets exist.
Chess sets, yeah. You know, you have a king and you have a pawn. You have a bunch of pawns, and you have a queen and a bishop and a rook and a knight.
I accept that somebody had to machine those parts and make up the game.
Yeah, so we agree that chess sets exist. Does that mean that the rules of chess are?
No.
Does that mean that the rules of chess exist? The rules of chess exist?
Of course.
Where do they exist?
I mean, that's given. I mean, it has to be written in some transparent, translucent area, and some of the. I mean, without the laws, the game doesn't make sense.
Where do the rules of chess exist?
In someone's mind. So
right. They're merely mental conceptions. They don't exist in the world.
Like maths. Like maths.
Yeah.
I mean, we use maths. I mean,
right. This is like just because
I'm under the notion
just because a chess set exists doesn't mean that the chess set is governed by the rules of chess.
But no. Of course, it's a player. So we've got free will.
Right.
That's in the Bible as well.
So the point is
the
rules of chess describe the way that chess is played.
Exactly. I mean, how every
in the same way, the laws of physics describe the way that the universe behaves. This is not.
Yes.
This is not. The laws of physics don't govern the universe. They describe the universe.
Let's ask you: do you believe the universe came from nothing?
No.
No. I mean, that says you're into Baruch Spinoza's God, you know?
No, it doesn't.
I mean, it can't come from nothing. No?
No, it does not imply that, no.
I mean, having something.
For example, I could think that the universe has always existed.
But we know, I mean, how can you say the Europhysicists? We can see the Big Bang. We know it as the beginning.
The Big Bang, Bang isn't really related to a beginning. They're not really
what?
The same thing.
We got a blob of something like singularity, something that's infinitely small, and we can look into the darkest place on the sky and see that little blob.
Yeah, what we're seeing is the cosmic microwave background radiation. That's not a beginning. What that is that's a hot dense state. That is a hot dense state. Exactly. It doesn't say anything about the beginning.
In a singularity, But
No, it's not a
have you read
singularity.
Stephen Hawking's? Have you read about the Stephen Hawking's book where he spoke about the beginning?
Yeah,
Like the universe had a
not
beginning.
only have I read the book, I have it right next to me. You're talking about A Brief History of Time. That book was written in the 80s. It's about 40. The view that the universe had a beginning, and that beginning was at the Big Bang, is about 40 years out of date.
So right now, globally, we have accepted that there was no beginning?
No, there's no consensus about whether there was a beginning, but there is consensus that the Big Bang says nothing about whether or not there was a beginning.
Okay, so let's say laws are not real, right? And so are human inventions, they're not real.
Yep.
You're already admitting that something non-material in the universe already exists. No?
I mean, I don't have an issue with saying that
Why
concepts
does
exist.
mathematics map? So the efficacy of mathematics, like let's say, did we invent? What do you think? Do you think we invented mathematics?
Yes.
Or we just discovered it?
I think that we invented it.
Really?
Yep.
So before us, there was no math. Boltzmann constant, fine tuning, gravitational constant. It just.
Those aren't math. Those are descriptions of things, right?
Well, yeah, they're descriptions of math, but obviously you needed math to describe them. I mean, it's a need. It's not like a want, you know. It's not like a cake you can have or not. It's food.
That's like saying we need language to describe a rose. I mean, in some sense, that's true.
So language.
In that the way that we describe things is with language, and so of course you need language to do descriptions, but that's not really a particularly deep statement.
Okay. What do you think about dreams? So
we are so far off topic at this point, Dr. Deep.
We're so far off topic, yeah. Okay,
Dr. Deep, I'm going to let you go because I want to have time to bring on at least one other guest. But thank you for being here. Okay. And next time, don't do stolen valor. It's not actually stolen valor, but it's akin to it, right? It's like saying that you are something when you're not. By the way, somebody said, yes, I knew Blitz would know about that survey. I don't know if you know this, but I'm the one who brought that survey to TikTok. Nobody ever used that survey. Nobody ever referenced that survey on Discord or on TikTok live streams, on YouTube live streams. Nobody referred to that survey before I started doing it because I was actually familiar with the survey before people started. I was familiar with the survey because I happened to be in contact with one of the authors of the survey, and I was I almost participated in the survey. So that's why I know about this survey, right? I brought it. It's me. I take credit for that. I didn't run the survey, of course, but I'm the reason you've heard about it on TikTok or on YouTube. But anyway, let's read some super chats and then move on to our next guest. We have to scroll back a bit. I am the one who surveys. There you go. From the Rabid Squirrel with the $2. All hail the emissary of the lava lamp. Indeed, all hail the emissary of the lava. I don't know why I do the crab hands when I do that, but it is funny. And from Science and Sci. Oh, hey, but the question I'll probably ask you later. Fair enough. You get one free question. I'll talk to you later, friend. From Piranha with the $2, I think Mr. Deep took too many of his ADHD meds. That would make him slow down and focus. Let's try not to pathologize people, guys. From Dr. Fudge with the $5, guy needs to either calm down or stop taking whatever he's taking, my goodness. Again, let's not pathologize people. From Soupy Dude with the $5, if I had a nickel for every polymath on Blitz's channel, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but weird that 2 people identified as polymaths. Yeah, it's definitely a thing that happens. People like to identify as polymaths a lot because it's a cool old word that people use to describe themselves, that people use to describe smart people. From Empiricist with the $2, quantum biophysicist who parrots creationists. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, that was my first red flag, right? From Get Stanfield with the $5, being a biophysicist, could he summarize what the standard model is? Not all biophysicists would have to know that, but biophysicists should know things like depending on what biophysics they're doing, they should know things like what the Navier-Stokes equation is or what the Euler equations are and things like that. From Grimmy with the $5, don't need faith to make preconceived predictions based on accurate previous information or data. Yeah, but I think that's referring to an old conversation. From Simeon Urchin with the $5, this guy's brain needs to reattach its spacebar. I don't think I've heard a single space between his words this entire call. That's funny. That is a funny comment. We can laugh in good faith. From Allied Master Computer with the $2, my God looks like Megan Fox and wears fishnets. Okay. From Mike Angel with the $2, when Dr. Blitz's Neo Guide to the Universe. Oh. What? What is that? What is this supposed to mean? I feel like you're asking me to write a book. Maybe eventually, but not yet. From Dr. Fudge, more like $10. Sorry, from Dr. Fudge with the $10, more like Dr. Deepity. Who said that? Who was the Deepity thing? The Deepity person? From Mindforged Manacles with the $5, most mathematicians apparently hold some kind of Platonism about math, but if pressed on it, adopt formalism about it. So, right, this is how you know I'm a physicist at heart who does mathematics for a living rather than the other way around, right? Because I am absolutely not a Platonist. Despite most mathematicians, yes, you're right, being Platonists about math in some way or another. I'm a maybe a formalist or maybe some kind of anti-realist anyway. All right, I'm just going to double check to make sure I haven't missed any Cash Apps. I have not. So let us move on to our next guest. Let's hydrate first really quick. All right. Yeah, I think, was it Carlos Mencia? Yeah, I think it was Carlos Mencia. God, I haven't heard that name in so long. All right, let's talk to Will Wu. It's not a nose ring? No, it's not. It's an injury. Will Wu, how's it going?
Hi.
Will Wu, do you believe in a god?
I do.
Okay, and which god is it? Because I don't want to make any bad assumptions about you.
I don't believe in like a specific religion.
I just mean like what properties of the god is it that you believe, or if the god has a name, if you could tell me that.
No, I don't think it's got. I couldn't put a name on it, but I would say that there's like a higher being.
Okay.
Almost.
Why should I think that there's such a higher being?
Because, well, from like our understanding, well, theoretically, that the universe would be infinite because we can't define if there is a beginning point.
Could be.
Yeah. So, I don't know, like my only thought is like, I don't know, maybe in the future we would be able to prove it, but how could we interpret that there is no beginning?
I don't understand what the question is.
No, that doesn't make sense. Sorry, I'm nervous.
Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead.
So like, if it is infinite, how can we know that a higher being didn't create this infinite cycle that we are in?
I mean, it could, but then it just means that it's not the creator of reality, right?
Okay.
Like, I mean, if you're just saying like maybe our universe exists forever into the past, but we are just like a sub part of the universe that some ancient being created, like, okay. But then we're just talking about like an alien with superpowers rather than like a divine being.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know,
Well,
I wouldn't call that a god.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm more like sitting on the fence.
Okay. Well, look, so I'm looking for people who are, assured of their views, and the only reason I say that is because if you're not convinced, how could you ever hope to convince me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let you go, but thank you for being here, bud.
Wait, I've got one more question.
All right.
So, what do you? I mean, I know that you're atheist, but would you agree with Spinoza?
I think that the debate between Spinoza and atheists is a semantic debate. It's not a debate about substance. It's a debate about what words mean.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Take care. All right. Let's talk to Jen. Oh, by the way, yes, I do know that Carlos Mencia, is that his name? Carlos Mencia was making fun of like intellectually disabled people. Oh, Deepity was Deepity was somebody else. It wasn't Carlos Mencia, but yeah, Carlos Mencia was like a big deal in the early 2000s or like the 2000s, right? And then he kind of like dropped off the face of a cliff. Let's talk to Gen X Renee. Yeah, Deepity was Dennett. Thank you, Dr. Fudge. What happened to my face? It's a post-surgical injury. All right, it looks like Gen X Renee is not connecting. Is Mr. Q-Top still on the waiting list? No. Let us talk to the Wise Man. The Wise Man, how's it going?
Good.
Glad to hear it. Wise Man, do you believe in a god?
Yes.
Cool. So which god is it? Just that way then I don't make any faulty assumptions about you.
First off, how much time do you got?
At least half an hour.
Okay. I was making sure.
But which god is it that you believe in?
I believe I'm convinced more of the Christian God.
Okay. So why should I believe in that god?
If I have some thought experiment, if you don't mind.
You have a thought experiment? Yeah, sure.
Okay. It's called the surgery trolley problem.
The surgery trolley problem. Okay.
Yeah. So it's gonna be like, so the surgery trolley problem is an ethical thought experiment where a surgeon can kill unalive one healthy patient to harvest their organs and save 5 others.
Yeah, okay. Is this going to be an argument in favor of the god that you believe in? Is this going to involve that, or?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. There's something that like I said, I believe in, that I'm convinced unless someone tells me otherwise. Okay, so we have 5 patients with lungs, pancreas, kidney, brain, and heart. And the lungs.
By the way, hold on. I'm sorry. There is some like horrible feedback happening with your microphone or something. Would you be able to fix that?
Oh, how about now?
I don't know. I hope it's gone. Did you change something?
I think it might be my hand on the phone.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, okay. So I'm familiar with this. So you have one person who has healthy organs that could go to the 5 people who need those healthy organs. Do you kill the person with the healthy organs to give the 5 organs to the people who need them to save their lives, or do you not? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think that you can't do that. I don't think that you should do that. How does this get you to a god?
Well, in the Christian God, they say that they talk about this savior, right? And yeah. Well, I'm just gonna skip that one because I don't think I have a lot of time. But let's look at. I want to talk about the 10 Commandments.
Wait, hold on. Why did you bring up this this trolley problem?
Well, I wanted to get through it,
so I summarized what the trolley problem is. I gave you my answer. What does that have to do with God?
Okay, so it's about this about this Jesus sacrificing himself, and that's what I want to kind of connect it to.
Okay, so what's the connection?
That you said that you're not okay with it, but what if what about the other guy, the healthy person? What about if he wants to sacrifice himself?
If he wants to do that, then like I'm more agnostic about it. I still think that people shouldn't kill themselves to save other people, but I think that in some situations it can be appropriate, and perhaps this is one of those situations.
Okay.
So what does this have to do with God?
Give me a sec. Well, I'm just gonna talk about the Ten Commandments. Okay, I'm gonna skip that one because I feel like I'm gonna take too long. So the Ten Commandments it says that you shall not.
You just broke my neck with that pivot. Okay.
Wait, I wasn't pivoting. Dr.
What do you
Blitz,
mean you weren't pivoting? You're just literally changing topics.
Quick question: Do you like scrambled eggs?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, because I'm about to turn you into scrambled eggs.
I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure you are. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyways, okay. So it says, I am kind of like a believer on this, right? It says, have you ever looked upon a woman with lust?
Sure.
Have you ever steal?
I don't think so.
Have you ever lied before?
Probably.
Okay. Well, it's I don't think I think everybody has fallen into these commandments, right?
Well, I don't think I've stolen. Feel like I'd remember that.
But anyways, so if you break one law here in the Ten Commandments, whatever, you're guilty of a crime against God.
Okay, I don't care. I don't think that God's real.
Okay, so you're guilty of, you go to court and you're guilty of these crimes, you get punished by it. I think this goes hand to hand, like the same with
I don't think God is real, so I don't think that there's any judgment coming for breaking these commandments. Your goal here is to try to prove to me that this God is real before trying to yell at me and say that I've broken these commandments and that I'm going to hell if I don't repent or whatever. So like,
what do you believe in? Good?
Do I believe in good? Sure,
yeah,
I think that there's a goodness. Look, so do you think that you shouldn't ever lie? There should be under no circumstances should you ever lie?
Yes.
Okay, so if you were a Dutch family in the 1940s in the Netherlands, and Anne Frank was hiding in your attic, the Nazis showed up and asked, "Hey, you got a Jewish girl hiding in your attic?" What do you say to them?
Let me think about it, okay?
Okay. This is not a hard question, by the way.
Okay, so I know you're gonna do whenever I answer this question, but the thing is
answer the question. Be honest and don't try to avoid it. Just answer the question.
Are you sure that you're not going to like get mad?
I'm not going to get mad. Well, I mean, I might call you dumb if you say something dumb, but like, just answer the question. Do you say, yes, I am hiding a Jewish girl in my attic? Or do you say, no, I'm not hiding a Jewish girl in my attic?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Or do you say something else?
Okay, I'm gonna say, if I say yes, then you could still defend that girl, right?
Maybe. I don't know. Like, can you fight off 4 Nazis who are carrying weapons when you're not allowed to own a gun?
Who knows? Maybe you can. But the answer is yes. I'll say so. If you're trying to save the girl, but
that's fucked up. That is like super fucked up, by the way.
No. See, this is what I'm saying.
Like there's like a 10-year-old girl hiding in your attic from the Nazis, and then when the Nazis come and ask, is there a 10-year-old girl hiding in your attic? You say yes. Like
no, but look at the Nazis. What they're doing, it's bad.
You're right. What they're doing is bad. So you should not let them do. You should prevent them from doing the things that they're trying to do, which is getting to the 10-year-old girl in your attic who happened to write a journal that we then all read in 6th grade or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said before, God doesn't want you to unalive nor to lie, and that's one of the that's one of the commandments.
So if your morality requires that you tell the truth to the Nazis when asking, "Are you hiding a Jew in your attic?" I think that your morals are pretty bankrupt.
Yeah, that's subjective, right? That'll be.
Yeah. Do you think that it's not bankrupt?
That morals could be bankrupt?
That your morals are bankrupt.
If it's not for a good purpose, then yes. But in this case, it's bad versus bad. So it's it's I guess not bankrupt because it's so confusing. Because if you lie for a good thing, that's the bad. If you lie for a bad thing, then that's wrong.
So if you lie to protect somebody, you think that that's bad.
If I lie to protect someone, no, that's the opposite of what I'm saying. I'm saying it's if you lie for a bad thing, that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if I lie to these intruders, because it's trying to cause harm, then that's justified.
So
But
then
still,
why?
God,
So then why isn't it good to do that?
it isn't good because it causes. Take a look at, you know what sin is?
I'm familiar with the idea. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So sin can be like an error, right?
You're right. Sin can be like an error.
Yeah, and that's one way of viewing it. Anyways, Dr. Blitz, I am consider myself a Christian, but what exactly is a Christian? If you use it as a noun, it's someone who believes in the idea of Christianity, right? And that's why I believe in.
Oh God, that whiplash.
Okay, look, I wish I want to continue more talking to you, but I'll be back with more stuff. Okay, after I cooked you on Sunday. Okay.
Yep, I'm sure that you're gonna be back after you cooked me. That's definitely what's gonna happen.
Okay.
You know, I like my eggs runny, but not so runny that they weren't cooked. That was unusual. I think I have actually spoken to that guy before. But I think his name was different last time. I think his name was Jesus Warrior last time, or something like that. All right, let us bring up our next guest. Let's talk to FL Back. Back, how's it going?
Hello. It's doing it's good.
Glad to hear it. So, do you believe in a God?
Yes, do you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. Yes, I believe in God.
And which God would that be?
Christian.
Okay. Why should I be a Christian?
But before that, I just want to ask you, why do you want to be convinced in God?
Because if it's true, and I like knowing true things, then it follows that I would like to know it. I would like to know that God exists. I would like to believe that, if it's indeed true.
Okay, that's interesting. For me, how I came to the conclusion of God being true is I like to look around and think about.
I like to look around too.
About how things are, and
me too.
When I see, for example, a box in my room, I think about, first of all, that box needs to take space. That box needs to take time, and it has some sort of energy.
What? I don't know what you mean it has some sort of energy.
The atoms, they are made of quarks, and those quarks are made, mass has energy, correct?
Yeah, mass does have energy, that's true.
So that's what I mean by energy.
Okay,
so it has mass and it has energy.
Sure.
Those three things are what makes me question further, because to me, that becoming real is strange. And if you look at the beginning of things, right, I just always think about how they have some sort of function, and it's like.
What do you mean? Look at the beginning of things.
I don't want to say Big Bang, but is the reality in general.
So if I just look at, so if I look at the beginning of reality in general.
Just reality in general. Sorry, I'm just a bit nervous. But
You're fine.
I like to see it as like a computer program.
By the way, just as a unrelated aside, it seems like I'm getting some echo from you. Are you using headphones or are you not using
No,
headphones?
it's just my phone. It's just my phone. I don't know how it's echoing.
Maybe try closing the, or maybe try minimizing the app and then reopening the app.
Minimizing the app like this. Did it help?
Well, you have to minimize the app first. Oh, maybe it did help. I think that actually helped. Yeah, great.
Okay. Yeah. I like to see it as like a computer program, right?
Okay.
Unity, for example.
Sure.
When you place a cube in Unity, you can move it around, and then you can animate that cube, make it go through time. But those things need to be coded. That program needs to be.
Yeah,
it needs to be
that's what
coded
computer
for it.
programs are.
So that's how I see reality in a sense, because like time has a function. It makes. Well, time is a bit weird in itself, so I'm not sure what time exactly is, but and what space exactly is. But I can say space is something that can hold matter, but matter in itself is energy. But what is energy? So for me, those are like functions that are coded and in a closed system, like a program.
So it seems to me
Yes.
that that drawing an analogy with a computer program is like you can draw that analogy if you want. But just because computer programs are programmed by a programmer doesn't mean that our universe is.
Yeah, I know.
So
But,
then why should we think that it is?
For me, it's just that it has function, and it is. So
It is what?
it exists.
Okay, yeah.
Time exists, energy exists, and space exists. But to say it just was always, that's a bit of a stretch for me.
Why?
And to think about what nothing is, it's no space, no time, and no energy.
Right,
So
but
nothing.
if the universe always existed, then there never was nothing.
But to say that it always existed implies that there are functions such as time, space, and energy, but nothing is neither of those three.
Yeah, there wouldn't be nothing. Exactly.
Yeah, but the nothing now that we live in have those three functions.
Yeah, and so look, so the universe that we have has matter, it has time, it has space, fine.
Indeed.
Why couldn't those things just always have existed?
Because they have functions.
Why does having function means that it can't have always existed?
Because that's not nothing.
Nobody's making the claim that it's obviously not nothing. Why couldn't it have always existed as something?
Because if it existed as something, that would mean that it's not. That would not imply that there was nothing.
Yeah, I don't think that there ever was nothing.
Why?
Because I don't think, for the reason that you're describing, actually, I don't think that nothing can exist, because then there would be something. Indeed, there would be the lack of something, which is a something, not a nothing.
Yes. Well,
in fact,
so
and in fact, we've never even, we have like no conception of what nothing is. We have no reason to think that nothing could even in principle exist. Like there's no reason to think that nothing could exist. So in the absence of that, I would just think that there was always something.
Yes, but we reason, correct? But
yeah, we reason.
Nothing is, I would say nothing is outside of reason, because pure nothingness means, it's kind of strange to say it just over and over, but it's just, yeah, it is nothing.
So it seems like you're trying to justify to yourself why there was nothing at some point. But like,
no,
why do you need to justify that?
No, I'm trying to justify why there is something.
Yeah, so a good justification for why there is something is because nothing is impossible.
How can you say that?
Well, no, I mean, like, if you can convince yourself that nothing is impossible, then that's a good reason for why there is something, because there couldn't be nothing.
Okay, but I can conclude that nothing is impossible, or better yet, it isn't the case right now, because I'm thinking, well, if that's even a good argument, to be honest.
I don't understand what you just said.
There was thoughts about everything can exist just as. How was the theory if there is nothing, I keep saying nothing, it's kind of annoying, but you can have like an apple exist spontaneously in a closed loop. Do you know about that?
An apple exists spontaneously in I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I can't put it into words, sorry. But it's just the fact that there is something concludes. Yeah. Sorry, English is not my main mother language, so it's a bit hard to explain it. But for me, it's just that there is something, and I can't think about it just existing because
I'm not saying it exists just because. I'm just saying that it exists because nothing is impossible.
And I want to ask about why it's impossible.
Okay, so I can give you an argument if you want.
Yes.
So suppose that every true fact has a truth maker, meaning that there exists something such that there exists something that makes that fact true. That's not so unreasonable that every true fact has a reason why it's true or a something that makes it true. And then suppose for a moment that there existed nothing. Well, then it's a true fact that there exists nothing. But then, by the previous statement, every true fact has a truth maker, something that makes it true, which means that there is something that makes it true that there is nothing. That's a contradiction, and so you get that there cannot be nothing. That's like a fairly straightforward argument. It's not like the most, it needs to be unpacked a little bit, but that's one way that you can see that there can't be nothing.
Okay. But that's more on the theory side.
No, there's nothing on the theory side. This is philosophy. We're talking about philosophy here. This isn't like theory.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to follow, but
It's a bit hard to follow? Which part? I mean, like, do you agree or disagree that for every true fact there is something that explains why it's a true fact?
Okay, yes, I agree with that.
Okay, and if there existed nothing, do you take the view that it is true that there exists nothing?
Yes.
So if you take those two statements, that it is true that there is nothing, and for every true fact there is something that makes it true, then that means that there is something that makes it true that there is nothing.
Yes, no, I agree.
But if there's something, then that means that there's not nothing, which makes nothing impossible.
No, I understand.
So there, now you have an explanation for why there's something rather than nothing, and therefore you can just suppose that the universe has always existed. That's a totally justifiable position here now.
No, that jump was a bit too big for me.
Well, the point is that there was never nothing, which means that there was always something. Just call that something part of the universe, and now you're done.
Yeah, to call that part of something the universe is just a bit too big of a jump. It's like saying, well, there was never unity, but now there is unity, so here you go.
Look, all I'm saying is that we have good reason to think that there was never nothing, and we also have good reason to think that the stuff in the universe isn't the kind of stuff that goes from not existing to existing. So if there was never nothing, and there was never a state of affairs where the stuff in the universe goes from not existing to existing, well then it seems like a pretty reasonable thing to conclude that the stuff in the universe never went from not existing to existing, and there was never nothing, so you get to the conclusion that that stuff always existed.
Well, yes, I understand, but it just really doesn't make sense that.
And to be clear, you believe that a divine being that always existed makes sense?
Well, how I came to that conclusion is sure.
So then why does it make sense that a divine being always exists, but it doesn't make sense that like quarks always existed.
I see it as that divine being outside of the universe, reality itself. That's how I see it. And
Well, it can't be outside of reality. Reality is all of those things which are real, and if the divine being is real, then it's part of reality.
No, well, I see reality as, again, as I stated, that Unity program, right? Which has functions and all that stuff, and where you can just fill it up with whatever
Okay, so
scene you
so
want.
you don't take reality to just be those things that are real?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Because,
so is God real?
I believe so.
So then God is part of reality?
He governs reality. I'll say it.
Okay,
say it
so
like that.
maybe we should just figure out what the definition of reality is.
Yes, that's you know, that's what I wanted to talk about, what reality exactly is, because yes, I believe in God, but that has its own separate meaning.
So
But
reality is the state of everything that exists. Do we agree on that?
yes,
Okay, does God exist?
sure. But
So God is part of the state of everything that exists?
okay,
So God is a part of reality?
look, I understand what you're saying, but could you follow what my footsteps are? Because look,
It sounds like you want to say that God is in like a metaverse,
sure,
where he like governs our universe or something, right?
could be.
So like, why do you think that God exists forever in that metaverse? Why is that not an issue for you? But thinking that our universe always existed is an issue.
No, I didn't bring up God for this state. I just wanted to talk about why this reality existed. Look, God aside, because my belief in God is actually, it's all different thing. But I want to talk about about why everything is as it is, because
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
look, so
Because
I understand what you're doing. You're saying this stuff doesn't make sense unless you posit a God.
No, I just.
So then how is this related to the topic of conversation? The topic of conversation is, can you convince me to believe in your God? So if this has nothing to do with God, then why are we talking about it?
Why are we talking about it? Well, I want to believe that the things that exist have been created, sure. But I want to ask you why there is this everything. Why?
I already explained, because there can't be nothing.
And I want to ask you about why there can be nothing.
I already gave you an argument for that.
Sure, you said...
Premise one, for every true fact, there is something that makes that fact true. Premise two, if nothing existed, then it would be true that nothing existed. Premise three, if it's true that nothing existed, then there is a true fact, or then there is something that makes it true that nothing exists. Conclusion, if nothing exists, then something exists, and that's a contradiction. Therefore, nothing does not exist. That's the argument.
So if I were to say that the box I will make in the future, correct? Exists. Is that correct?
I don't know. What do you say? You're saying if the box...
No, if I were to make an object, let's say in the future, right? But I haven't made it now. Does that mean that object in the future exists now?
Well, no, it doesn't exist now.
Yes, indeed. So it doesn't exist.
Yeah, there are things that don't exist now. I agree.
And let's say it's the same concept, but with the universe, with reality itself.
Well, so
the same
is reality considered the sum total of all things that exist?
Sure.
Well, then that's impossible.
Me, as I said
as we've
earlier,
ruled out.
No, I wanted to say energy space, and time. Those three are my general consensus of things, but sure. Let's say those three needs to be created, right? They need to exist.
Why should I think that?
Well, isn't reality that?
Reality definitely has space, time, and matter in it as part of reality. I don't know why I should think that those three things had to be created.
Had to exist.
Well, they do exist. Whether they had to exist is a different question. Possibly. It's possible that they had to exist, at least like conceptually possible.
And that's how I see it. They had to exist because
If they had to exist, then that means that they couldn't not exist, which means that they can't have been created.
how do you could not have been created? So if we go back to the analogy of the object that I would make in the future, can we not have it the same as that analogy of the reality
No,
itself?
because the box doesn't have to exist. If your claim is that space, time, and matter have to exist, then that means that they can't have ever not existed if they have to exist. If they are necessary.
Sure, they are necessary for
Right.
for there to be something, but I'm trying to say that those three things had to be created, written.
Why? If they're necessary, then that means that they don't need to be created because they always existed.
For me, those three things: space is something, energy is something, and time is something.
Sure.
And they just spontaneously existing forever. That's a bit too much. I believe in.
But you don't have, hold on. But it's not too much to think that the God has existed forever.
Well, because there is something.
Yeah. So why can't the something that existed forever just be space, time, and matter?
Because it's the same as saying I imagine space, time, and energy in my head, so that I can create a universe in my head.
Do
you understand?
I don't see how that's the same thing. Look, you seem to have a problem with the idea of space, time, and matter having always existed. But when I ask you about God, and God always existed, right?
Yes, because
you don't have a problem with that.
Because I can see that reality is. Therefore, I can say, well, it needed to be created because I believe that before reality
so
there was nothing.
Does God have the property of is not? Or is God is?
Sure, is.
So God is, reality is. You said that because reality is, it follows that reality must be created. Does it then follow that because God is, therefore God must be created?
Well, who knows?
Well, you're a Christian, so if you think that God is created, then you're going to hell.
I like to think freely. I chose for Christianity because.
Well, then you're just not a Christian. If you think that God had a beginning, then you're not a Christian, right?
No, Christianity. I have free will to think about everything I want.
You have you're just not a. It just makes you not a Christian.
I follow his teachings. No, Christianity means that to follow Jesus Christ. That's it. And how he lived and how he is.
Okay, so do you believe that everything that Jesus believed was true is actually true?
Jesus, the pivot.
No, this is relevant,
Jesus
I promise.
was human. Sure, Jesus was human. So, wait, before I answer, can you clarify?
Yeah, so everything that Jesus believed is true. Do you also believe that that's true? Like if Jesus believed that, 3 + 5 is 8, well, okay, that's a bad example. If Jesus believed that, I don't know, that heaven is coming in the next world, would you also believe that?
Heaven is coming in the next world.
Because Jesus believed it. I.e., do you think that Jesus could believe something wrong?
Wait, let me think about it now. Jesus believed in something wrong? I believe that Jesus is perfect and he is sinless. So and he does not know the hour of coming.
Okay,
So
I didn't.
there is
That wasn't my question.
there is limits to how much he knows. So
My question was, do you believe that everything that he knows is true?
well, as a human, I would say yes. Yeah, sure. I'll go with yes.
Okay. Would you say that like the descriptions of God in the Bible are correct?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so like if I were to show you, for example, Romans 1:20, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, blah, 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 blah. Sounds like they're saying God is eternal. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong, that is the wrong thing. Here, this is what I mean to show you. His eternal power, Romans 1:20, his eternal power, God is eternal. Here's 1 Timothy 1 verse, verse 17. Now to the King, eternal, immortal, invisible, the only God. It sounds like God is eternal.
Okay.
So
what does this have?
It sounded just a minute ago you said that the description of God in the Bible is correct.
Okay.
Which means that it is your view that God is indeed eternal.
Okay.
And so you have no problem with thinking that God can exist forever. God could be eternal. But for some reason you do have a problem thinking that space-time and matter can exist forever. I'm just trying to understand why.
Okay. So for me, I think about what nothing is exactly. And for me, that nothing is, let's go back to the analogy of the computer program. If you have your starting screen, right, and you have that icon of unity, that unity icon is reality itself, which has functions such as space, time, and energy. That's what my problem is. If you remove that unity program, you have nothing.
Why do you why is it look, I know that that's your view. I'm asking, why is it a problem for why, like what is the conceptual block that you're having in even conceptualizing that the universe, space-time, and matter could exist forever? What's the block there?
The block is, it's just far from nothing. That's my block.
You're right. It is far from nothing. Why would you? That's unrelated to the question, though. The question is, why can't the universe have always existed?
Because it's far from nothing. That's the only argument I can give you.
God is far from nothing. What does that have to do with whether or not a thing could have always existed?
Because I can say that, well, the reality exists. It exists. That's why I can say God exists. But let's say I want to ask you, let's take God out. Let's take God out. What would you say then? Let's say
what would I say about what?
God.
I still think it's true that nothing never existed.
Okay. Then
There was never nothing.
I appreciate your opinion.
Okay. You should really think about why, like, just as a postscript, spend some time thinking about why you have no problem thinking God always existed, but you do have a problem thinking the universe always existed. Just something to think about. Thanks for being here. That was... Nope. Not gonna say things that I don't want to say. Let's read some super chats. From Ekipo with the two euros. I never lust, I never steal, and I never lie. Huh. Good on you. From Tim Davidson with the $2. P1, God's love. P2, love's blind. Conclusion, Ray Charles God. You got us there. It is known. From Git Stanfield, with the $10, sorry. Humans need to get over the hubris of their relationship to the universe. The universe could have been a default state of existence. There was never not time where it didn't exist. Yeah, that's my view. It just doesn't make sense to say that there was nothing. From Hydex Holdings with the with the $5, you are very true with confidence that there is no God. I think I know what that means. My view is that I'm fairly confident that there is no God. You know, I could be wrong about things. From ResPliz with the $2, good meme by the way. Thanks for making my workday go by quickly. Well, I welcome the appreciation, but we will be ending soon. From Brady's with the $5, your level of patience needs to be studied. Also, thank you for your work. You learn this when you teach undergrads, which I did for several years. And from Traxel with the €6, thank you so much, Traxel. What is the argument called that you presented regarding the impossibility of nothing existing? It is an argument. I don't know how seriously how well this is taken, but it's an argument that's put forward. I mean, it's basically a summary of the argument put forward by David Pizzi. It was like, I guess it was published last year, but I don't think that this is like, I don't know if it's originally his or if he was just kind of summarizing it. It's not clear. But I just found it in this paper. So if you want to take a look, it's fairly straightforward. So, you know, take a picture if you want, take a screenshot, whatever. Let me make this a little bit bigger, make this a little bit smaller. And the argument is it's really just summarized here, right? You have a lemma, every truth has a truth maker, you have to understand what those mean. And then necessarily something exists. It's super straightforward. And I'm sure that there are more sophisticated versions of this, more sophisticated arguments. But it's definitely just like a super simple argument that is at least fairly straightforward. Just Google David Pizzi, the impossibility of nothingness, and you'll find it. Anyway, I'm just going to double check, make sure I haven't missed any cash apps or anything. We have not, it looks like. And let me double check my phone really quick. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, okay. So it doesn't look like we have anything else. So I'm going to end the live stream here. I do have some stuff to take care of this afternoon, so I don't really have a whole lot of time in that regard. Somebody says I'll cash app you $10 million. What? What are you talking about? I mean, I'd love it if you did, but you know. Anyway, so by the way, if you want to see see more of my content, consider following on TikTok or subscribing on YouTube. The YouTube channels are at Blitz PhD for the vertical and at Dr. Blitz Debunks for the horizontal. There's also going to be clips that show up on the Dr. Blitz Debunks channel, like debate clips. So if you want to see that, that's the place to go. If you want to support me, the best way to do it is to either become a Patreon on Patreon or a patron on Patreon, or to become a member on YouTube. It's like $4 or $5 a month, and it gives me some consistency. So that's really helpful too. But with that said, I'll see you guys on Sunday for the Unapologetic Show. Take care, everybody.